Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are premiering, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, speaking of Patreons, we are... I can just hear rumblings in the background. Actually, I'm going to introduce the Google Plus Hangouts on air while my coffee machine gets saved from an explosion. Hello, Flatzoid, and hello, Righteous Force.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Oh, great. It's up to us to keep the show going.
I guess so. So what were your thoughts on that video on Ranty's channel with Rumpus and Cats?
Haven't seen it yet. I've been busy in Discord. Why? What happened?
It's just Rumpus is trying to stick up for Cats, even though he says he's totally wrong with atmospheric pressure. But 2 minutes before that, he said everybody that says otherwise than what he says is at the moron. But conspiracy Cats isn't a moron, he says. Somehow justifies just because he's conspiracy Cats that he's not a moron.
Wait, which side is Conspiracy Cats on?
It was on gas pressure. It's got, I don't know if you should actually go on Ranty's channel. There's a thing got a little Coke. And
Yeah,
it's
but there's like
something about 4.7 psi inside the Coke can. Yeah?
okay, 14 psi. Like, I'm not following this debate that much. You're not talking about that right the hand thing again, are you?
Yeah, it's that one.
Oh, about the tire?
Yeah. But they took it further with Rumpus and showing conspiracy Cats with a tin Coke can and a tire. And conspiracy Cats is actually saying exactly what right the hand is saying. But Rumpus is saying conspiracy Cats just had a bad day, so he's not a moron, but right the hand is a moron because he said that, as if that makes sense.
Oh, so because Conspiracy Cats is a baller, he gets a free pass. I gotcha. I mean, that's alright.
He didn't get a free pass. He was most definitely wrong. Hasn't got the vaguest idea about pressure, but that's nothing new and exciting. We already knew Cats doesn't have the vaguest idea how gas pressure works. Most of the little snippet videos that are out about him are about him talking nonsense about gas pressure or affirming our argument. You know, pissing in the face of the baller argument that you don't need a gas pressure container in order to have gas pressure. Well, he would defy that and say, oh yeah, the pressure's from the walls on the container, and give you a little easel whiteboard demonstration of exactly that.
And he seems to teach children this rubbish.
Wrong. At a fundamental level, and it was amusing because Rumpus has obviously said anybody who believes that is a complete moron. And then Ranty goes, well, here's Conspiracy Cats who believes just that.
He just had a bad day, remember? That's all.
He just didn't think about it. Then he says, what about when he's spent a couple of hours making a video and declared it twice, then edited it? He's still saying a nanosecond later he wouldn't be thinking the same thing? I think he's just wrong. Let's be honest.
Yeah, double speak beyond. I don't know.
Yeah. So,
I wanted to ask, did you get a new projector yet?
no, it's still rattling and making a whole bunch of noise. So
Yeah,
the dealer did actually call me about it yesterday and say, good news! The same projector that he offered me last time, which sold, which is no bad thing at all, because I spent all my money, so I've got no money to buy it, which is still the case. And he's contacted me yesterday and said, yay, good news, we've got one again. There's another one come up, an next demonstration one that's got about 60 hours already on the bulb. Apparently he's wangled me a 2-year guarantee on the actual projector anyway, which is fine, considering they're a couple of grand new. I think the cheapest I found one was about £1,400 or £1,500 when converted from dollars if I imported it from the States. So, £200 cheaper than the cheapest possible price I could find it online. Even when importing it isn't bad at all. So he's done me a good price. I'm quite pleased. Other than the fact that I don't actually have the money to pay for it, but I was hoping I could. Optimistically, I upped my Patreon amount, my pledge to the exact amount that the projector costs, just out of pure optimism. Hopefully, it'll all be okay. I'll just buy on a credit card and hopefully pay it off next month. But yeah, it's always the way with these things. You hope they'll come a little bit later, because the projector that I've got now is hanging in by a thread. Just. It's making a right old racket, and occasionally it won't switch on. But with a bit of hoovering and a bit of swearing, it does actually work. So I'm like, yeah, I can drag this one out for at least another month, and then I'll hopefully have enough money to actually buy a new one. There we go. That's how these things happen, don't they?
Wow, you're really pushing it.
Pushing it, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's one of those, if I push it too far with the one I've got now, it'll go bang. I did a little Patreon video about it, actually. Did I publish it? I think I did, yes. I published a little Patreon video. I will shout out the Patreons. I'll do it on the live show today, because I didn't in the pre-show. But pointing out that one of the shows last week nearly didn't happen. So, I don't know, 1:30, I'm on the phone with Ranty and Anthony and I think Arwin. And I was actually talking to them about the launch of Quantum Erason's channel, which is going to happen in about 24 hours' time, maybe a bit longer, 30 hours' time. And, just talking about how it was... Talking about how it was going to take place. So that I did like a soft launch, if you like. So this is good timing, because this will go out to an audience when it's only 20 hours to go. But, that reminds me, I need to turn off my video. So I released a video, an ad, for people to download and then all upload... or set to premiere at exactly the same time, so 8 PM UK time, about 2 PM Central time, which is the time that QE's channel will have his first publication actually published. So I've asked people to download that and, like I say, set it to premiere. Although I've not seen anybody do that yet. I was hoping, there'll be it'll take a few. If everyone sets them to the same time to be released, but publish them at varying different times, i.e. the premiere gets set out there for the time. I thought there'll be various different channel ads out and then all published at the same time, directing people, because it's only a 60-second ad, to go to watch the first show that's on there. But I haven't seen any yet, so I'm going to delete my my example ad, which I only intended to put up for 24 hours, just so people have got a really easy way of downloading it, together with the link to the video that's going to be published in about 30 hours time, 20 hours from when you're listening to this, if you're an audience member. So, hopefully somebody's actually done that, and if not, this will serve as a reminder if they're watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, that they need to actually set it to premiere. That's the whole point. So there's a few ads out there for his channel, right? But like I say, hopefully that people are just in the motions of doing that, and throughout today...
I'll do mine tonight.
Go on.
I'll do mine tonight. I wanted to last night, but got too busy.
No, that's all right. Hopefully this will serve as a reminder for the people, because it's hopefully over the next... the idea was that over the course of Thursday, generally, not everyone's going to say, oh yeah, I'm going to do it exactly 8 o'clock. They'll just, release them around and about the time that his first video is published, so that when people click on the link, they go, oh wow, half an hour to go, and then his first video's on, and hopefully subscribe.
While your subscribers are pushing up, even Arwen subscribed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Good. So he should.
So John's got a lot of material done he wants to unload.
Absolute ton.
I'm gonna enjoy it. I enjoy his work.
There's also going to be new material, so Ballbusters will be the new home of Ballbusters. So again, this will serve as a semi-early reminder of this because the channel launch is Thursday. This is going out Wednesday night to the Nathan Oakley audience, but yeah, the official launch will be Thursday, 8 PM UK time, and thereafter, every Tuesday and Thursday there'll be a show. Might not be a long show, might not be a short show, but there'll be a show scheduled every 8 PM UK time, 2 PM Central, Tuesday and Thursday, weekly. But Saturday will be a live show, so there'll be a Ballbuster show on a Saturday at the usual time with the usual crowd and in the usual format. It'll just go out from Quantum Eraser channel rather than Nathan Oakley 1980, and then as has been the case anyway, I will then publish the Uncut and After show, so we're sort of splitting in half in that regard. I'll get the Uncut and After show, QE will do the live show, and presumably at a later date he'll republish the Uncut and After show on his channel anyway. But yeah, so it'll go out, other than it being on QE channel on Saturday at 8 rather than Nathan Oakley 1980 Saturday at 8, there will be very little difference to anybody who actually tunes in. Same with the After show, or Ballbusters Uncut and After show, or whatever I label it. That'll go out at the same time as well. Typically I put it out for the UK audience really early on a Sunday morning, about 12 hours later, so 8 AM UK time, and I'll just continue to do the same thing. Why change what I had as a semi-permanent schedule?
Yeah, makes
Well,
sense.
sounds like a good way to promote them.
Yeah, but hopefully people are used to tuning in at those times and will continue to do so. I hope so.
Well, we got joined by 10th Man and Paul.
Oh, didn't see you there. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello. Oh, I don't see 10th Man. See
Yeah,
how
you never
fast
can.
he's
His icon's black.
Think,
He's in Discord.
yeah.
Oh, is he? Hey, 10th man. Don't see him. Hey ho.
He's there. I got him muted, so.
Check all my lines are open. This is a good opportunity to sound check and stuff. No, all the lines are open. I think it seems like it's working okay. I haven't heard anything from Discord yet though, so.
They're on mute today.
Wait. I can hear him in Discord, but I can't hear him on your show.
Ah. Let's just, I'll refresh Discord and see what happens.
on Discord from yesterday, Righteous Force.
There we go. Was that someone in Discord?
Yeah, I got you, Nathan. I hear you now.
Yeah, Betty did say that on occasion, when it goes wrong, just refresh it, and hopefully that'll solve the problem. And it has. Am I nice and clear? Am I clear, 10th man?
You click. Repeat question.
That's a no. I said, am I clear?
Yes, you are clear.
Okay.
10th man, I can actually hear you better on Discord than when you on Hangouts. Sounds a bit better.
That's how it should be.
The reason-
Discord
Well,
should have the best connection of all three in terms of audio performance and bandwidth. It's the best, so it should sound the best.
Actually, I think it's because I'm on my headset with the mic. The last time I was on Discord and Hangouts, it worked better.
This is working. I take it you couldn't get into Hangouts again, 10th man.
Yeah, it says unable to join. I don't know what the problem is.
Are you on an iPad or an Apple product?
Yeah, iPad.
I don't think you can do what Paul suggested then. He was saying to change it to the desktop version on your phone and then go in that way, but if you're on an iPad, I don't think you can do that.
So on my phone, I tried as well, and then said the same thing. So if I go and settings and change to desktop, it might work. Is that what you're saying?
It worked yesterday for chocolate. Yeah, Paul suggested chocolate. It did actually work.
Yeah, and also, are you using Chrome? Because Chrome could be a factor too. Because I'm using Chrome
No.
now, and it's in a pop-up window.
Yeah, I go
No,
straight
I'm not
through
using
Chrome, and then I log in like that. It's the only way I get it on my phone to work.
So are you saying you got to use Chrome? Because I do not use Chrome.
Spit.
I mean, it might be.
Chrome, how dare you? Using Chrome.
I mean, yeah, Chrome's a Google product, so I think they kind of work together fairly well. So if you use anything else, it probably is going to give you a hiccup.
Got it.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, Red.
It's funny. It worked. It worked before when I was not on Chrome, but now you're saying if I change it, it might. So we'll give it a shot.
I've subtly changed how I use Hangouts now, so Hangouts on Air is now discontinued. You can't get into the software through that route. So it's subtly changed. Oh, God, I hate Skype. Hello, Ranty.
Hello. It's the only way I can join today because I'm at work, so I can't get Hangouts on the phone.
We were just having a conversation about exactly that.
Same problem here.
Right, okay.
We'll discuss that on the show maybe after I've shouted out Patreons and all that good stuff.
Yeah. I've just been listening to Arwin. He's trying to chat me up again.
Oh, yeah. I listened to your Snip Out show. Again, we discussed that just a minute ago, but we'll get to it on the live show. I'll just mute you all and do an intro.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you? Then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum, which you should definitely all join. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below this video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. I'm going to do a big shout out to all of the people who support me on Patreon. Definitely going to be needed this month as I'm going to be paying for a projector in the next few days, which I've just ordered yesterday. So big shout out to Alistair, Billy Highvault, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As The Earth, Chow Young Cat, Dank, David Wayne Foster, Edwin Johnson, Felix Hung, Fireball X, God Rockin', Jeranism, Kirsten Smith, Life is Short, Matt, Michael, Paige, Qatar Craig, Reinhardt, Renee, Sam, Sweet Equity, Texas Mike, and last but by no means least, Tina Baker. Thank you massively for your support on Patreon. Now, I know Paige left a message on one of my videos in regards to discussing the ether and what my thoughts on it. I don't know what the sky is. I don't think there's any scientific validity to give to the ether page. However, if you believe there is some, you're more than welcome to present it here. We'll give you a fair whack or whatever. Anyway, we are joined in Google Plus by Flatzoid, Righteous Force, Paul, and 10th Man. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Very good.
Good
Also-
afternoon. Hello.
Hello.
We're also joined on Skype by Ranty Flat Earth. How you doing, Ranty?
Howdy.
And we've also got a few people in Discord. So we've got Dougie, Nutty, Red, and 10th Man. How are you guys all doing as well?
Hey.
Well.
Very good. Everyone's off mute. Brilliant. Any signs of Earth curvature?
No Earth curvature. Not Earth.
Not here.
The boat's going over the horizon and still keeps coming up.
Hey, Owen.
No.
Russell. That sounds
Yeah,
like
one.
a decorator's rustle.
Sorry.
Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No
9.
spin zone on the same Earth.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nope.
No apparent
Can't-
distance.
Can't measure it.
How about any scientific evidence of gravity?
Scientific evidence of what?
Gravity. Scientific evidence
Nope.
thereof.
Ballers need to learn
Relative
science
density,
first.
yes.
They can't even define it.
Indeed.
True.
Very true. The evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth.
Still
Too much
waiting.
presupposing. I think.
Shout out to Paul Voigt and shout out to Agent Dubsky. No message, just support. Well, I really appreciate that support, Agent Dubsky. Thank you very much. Technically, there is a message. It says no message, just support. But I thank you anyway.
It's Russian collusion helping you.
It is. It is. KGB, I'm MI6. We all work well together. Thanks for the super chat, Agent Dubsky.
It's the Russian collision.
Collision? Is that the wrong word? Collusion?
No.
Isn't coalition?
That was on purpose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, if
And-
you're
What do
successful
you think is
nowadays,
happening?
because
Giant Russian collision.
Okie dokie. So, any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
No.
you gotta ask Blue Marbles.
Nothing.
that.
Waiting for demonstrations. Still nothing.
I heard ask Hillbilly Blue Balls.
Yes, ask Hilly Blue Balls as he brings in gas pressure with the container to prove gas pressure without a container. That was classic.
Shout,
And then he shows gradient pressure in one container.
shout out to the retards on both flat and globe side of the argument that don't understand that you have to add atmospheric pressure to, say, a pressure meter at a petrol station when you're filling your tyres. Shout out to the retards on both sides of the argument.
All right, talking about retards, shout out to Pete Shea for calling me a gatekeeper. Probably doesn't even know for what.
Yeah, he doesn't know what you're gatekeeping, does he? Idiot.
Now, probably gatekeeping his Aristarchus and Dodo things for which he will not provide any actual groundwork. I'm gatekeeping that because I'm not talking about it because I can't, because there's nothing really to talk about.
Oh, great.
It's alright, it's Attack of the Ranty Wind noise.
Oh, bloody hell. Right.
Oh, bloody hell.
I don't know what to do here. I'm up a ladder and, yeah, I don't know.
It's
Can you
alright.
mute me for a minute?
Yeah, I'll pop you on mute, no worries.
When you need me.
Yeah, I'll guess when you're talking rather than wind noise. Okie
Hard to
doke.
tell the difference though with all the hot air.
Last but by no means least, any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
R.
Are been in here.
Well, since Ranty's on the ladder, he could test for the gradient and see if there's any R.
No, you're not going to get a reaction out of him on that one.
You want me to
concludes-
fall? Fair enough.
Oh god.
Yeah, I saw your clip, obviously, Ranty.
Sorry, say again.
I saw the clip. Obviously, it got talked about yesterday, and Anthony said, "Did you know what Katz was mistaken about?" And I was like, I naturally assumed he was either backing our argument in regards to the requirement of a container, or simply incorrect in some of the assertion that he's making about gas pressure, because he's made so many cock-ups in regards to this specific argument. But I assumed incorrectly. I didn't know that he was essentially putting forth the same argument as Right the Hand, bless him.
Indeed. And when I pointed it out, apparently Spurs Chemo said that, because he's in the Discord with the Globers, he says that, they weren't very happy with Conspiracy Cats at all. They were trying to tear him limb from limb, basically. And I think that's why he did his retraction video rather sharply.
But he hasn't retracted his "without the container there can be no pressure" video, because that's true also. Without the container there can be no pressure, and it's asserted that outer space is a vacuum, defying the second law of thermodynamics. Entropy would increase and the gas would fill the space. So, interesting that he may make a retraction video in regards to his nonsense assertions about the addition of atmospheric pressure at 14.7 psi, but he's not going to change his stated claim in regards to needing a container, which we absolutely agree with. Of course he's not going to retract that, because it's true.
It's because Rumpus is kissing his feet.
Yeah, Rumpus said that Katz was wrong 99.9% of the time, or something along those lines. But fair enough, he made it clear that he was wrong, and what percentage he was wrong, which is a high percentage. That's what I heard.
Doesn't Rumpus say that about everyone?
Yeah, he also said that Katz was a moron. Made it very clear.
Well, I listened to it. I listened to it yesterday. Rumpus said he's 100% right. Anthony's 99% wrong. First Chemo's 99% wrong, and was it Conspiracy Cats is 99% right, so he's 1%
Sleeping
wrong.
Warrior.
Sleeping Warrior.
He actually said that Conspiracy Cats had the IQ of a root vegetable. He said anybody that disagrees with that has an IQ of a root vegetable. And then I played Conspiracy Cat's video.
Yeah,
he didn't know what to
comic.
say.
He said it was a fraction of a moment later he'd realised how wrong he was in that single statement. He said, what if I've got a second statement? And demonstratively he's made an edited video, which he's put together with two exact same claims and then spent several hours doing it. He doesn't know he's wrong. It's not going to be a microsecond later that he realises he's just dumb and wrong. And
yeah, it was a classic gotcha.
Yeah, and defined by Rumpus as a moron. Anybody who thinks this is a moron. Oh, well, Katz thinks it.
No, I like the IQ of a root vegetable.
But Katz was just having a bad day, guys. Like, everybody has a bad day.
The only thing
that's trying to clean it up for him.
The only thing that ruined it slightly was in that pause when the bullet was fired. Right, there's about a 5-6 second pause, but Spurs didn't realise what was going on and then interrupted it. And you had to tell him, no, Spurs. This is the point where he's basically being bent over. Hey Spurs, good to have you.
Hi Spurs.
Hello. Good afternoon. Well, that was kind of an idea that I brought forward, and because we had to go between the watch page and Skype, so I was like lagging behind a little bit. So, but I think we got a pause, long enough. For him to, not give a sufficient answer. But the problem
you should have left it, man. You should have just let him sit there and stew in his own crap.
No, it actually worked quite well, because it meant that both both Ranty and Sleeping Warrior could point out to Spurs, no, Spurs, this is the moment when, and highlight that fact, which was quite good also. So it wasn't a bad thing. It went the way it should. Let's put it. I'm just pulling your leg, Spurs, because you just
no, you're quite right. I mean, if I'd realised, like, in that moment, I would have just been completely silent. But like I said, I had to switch between the watch page and Skype, and then there was a little bit of lag. because that was discussed. We wanted that moment of, so the idea was to, to have Rumpus, belittle anyone who thinks this.
I mean, it's the equivalent of the day the Earth stood still, right? It's the day Rumpus shut the hell up because he was wrong. I mean,
absolutely.
it was great.
But it was more.
He had no idea what to say.
It was more for the benefit of a fellow flat earther in that that guy. What we see from conspiracy cats, he's going after flat earthers, from far and wide, and so he's going back and forth with that guy, and just ridiculing him, mocking him. So it seemed like, okay, well, let's have a look at what conspiracy cats is doing and saying, and just try and show a little bit of support here. And so now, when that argument continues between that guy and conspiracy cats, that guy will be armed with, well, conspiracy cats, you don't know what pressure actually is, because Rumpus has had to educate you actually on what it is and all these types of things. So yeah, I think that's just a small victory for that guy, and hopefully he's pleased with the results.
Very diplomatic, Spurs.
I'm sure he will be.
Yeah, but again, problem that they have, the reason why they're all in confusion with this 14.7 is because there is no 14.7. We would have to go back and forth with Rumpus on, well, how did you add 14.7 to that can? I mean, when we talk about absolute pressure, I would suppose and put forward that the atmosphere outside, as it stands, is zero pressure.
Well, no, that's wrong.
When hold on, when they tried, hold on, let me finish. So when they tried to tell us, a vacuum is zero pressure. Well, we've never had zero vacuum. A vacuum that's zero pressure. If you try to extract all the air from a vacuum, there will be still something left in that vacuum, meaning there is still a pressure. There is still something in the vacuum that's causing pressures. Therefore, that's not zero pressure. Now, obviously, outside in the real world, where it's zero pressure, you take any gauge, you take any 10 more seconds, you take any measuring gauge where it says zero pressure, and you go underwater, you will start to read a real pressure. You see, and so yeah, the point is, if anyone can identify how we derived, remember that is 14.7. Yeah, I'd be happy to know that.
So if the petrol station just gave it an absolute pressure,
isn't it just?
Hold on 1 second. If it was given in a different arbitrary numbering system that included the atmospheric pressure, would you then accept it?
Included the how do you mean
rather than
included?
not including it, which is the case. You're saying, well, it says zero when I fill up my tyres and they've got no air in it. It says zero, so therefore there's zero pressure. Well, that's nonsense.
Why? That's what it means.
Because
zero
we do
pressure.
have pressure. It's just not absolute pressure. It's not including the atmospheric pressure. It's saying that zero is 14.7 at sea level.
Nathan, absolute pressure means a vacuum, a complete void. Where can you show me anywhere in nature or controlled by man a complete vacuum?
There isn't one. I don't know of one, but that's not what we're saying. We're saying that you still have atmospheric pressure, which is variable. The pressure changes. It's not always exactly the same. It depends on various different things. For instance, altitude. But if you go to Scotland and fill up your tyres, their pressure gauge will still have zero when your tyre's flat, even though the pressure's slightly different. They don't give it an absolute pressure because you'd have to have a barometer on the bloody meter all day checking what the pressure was to give you an exact measure. Just take it as a rough average of what zero is. Atmospheric pressure.
Okay, so I'll ask you again. Where in nature or controlled by man do we find zero pressure?
We don't. But who cares? What difference does that make?
So if we don't have the zero, how do we begin from one?
Don't. We begin from atmospheric pressure when you're looking at a petrol station tyre pressure meter for your car tyres. You're looking at atmospheric pressure plus whatever PSI you put into them.
Okay, you're adding something that is not there. I'm asking you, where in nature or man-made controlled have your device where it's 0 and now it went to 14.7 and now you're adding this to whatever you're increasing the tire up?
It's just a number. I can write in pencil on the side of a petrol station gauge the addition of the atmospheric pressure to each of those numbers if I so choose. It's just a number that I arbitrarily scribble on the side of their meter.
Well, we don't want arbitrary. We want 0.
It is arbitrary. 0 to 1, if you say that atmospheric pressure is 0, which is what they do on a tyre petrol station gauge, well, if that's what you've done, it's arbitrarily being assigned as 0. It could be 20. It doesn't matter. It's arbitrary.
Yeah, well, no, because let me explain again, once again. If your blood is pumping at 2.4 psi and you have 0 blood pressure, stop interrupting me, please. Who's interrupting me?
Nobody interrupted you. Shout out to Paige. Thanks for my reply to comment, Nathan. Much.
Okay.
Heart.
Okay.
Thank you, Paige. No, you're welcome. You're welcome to join. If you want to talk about ether, be our guest. There's plenty of space on Discord.
Okay, so if you have blood pressure 2.4 psi and you have a dead body which has 0 blood pressure because the pressure is not pumping, you could start from 0. Now, if that body who's not alive starts to miraculously become alive and the pressure starts to increase, we can start from absolute 0 and then go from 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 2.4 psi. Now, the same thing is in the real world. You have to start from 0, otherwise you're just making up your own arbitrary number which suits you. I don't want, not just to you, Nathan, just to all the ball earthers as well. This is we don't want what suits you or the ball earther or any individual. We want what is. So
okay,
we know
no worries. Let me just ask you a question. So you've got a vacuum chamber, right? And it starts at what the petrol station called 0. And you fill it with some form of, I don't know, a smoke maybe, something that's just a way of seeing particulate matter, regardless of what state, but just something visual inside the chamber that you can see. Yep. And it's just filled, it's not being pressurized or depressurized, it's just at what I call atmospheric pressure. Yeah, and you can see the stuff in there, smoke, in this example. Then you turn on the vacuum and you suck out half of the smoke. Not all of it, half. Yeah?
Okay.
Is that now less than 0 pressure inside that vacuum chamber? There's still definitely stuff in there. Is it minus? A negative pressure? A nonsense in this arbitrary scale we're going to assign?
Yeah.
Well, it's not, because there's still particulates in there. Just half as many as there was.
It's telling me.
Right,
So
I'm telling you, that's what's occurring. You've got a vacuum chamber, it's got half as much in it as it did before you turned on the pump. When you pumped out half, there's half as much. I get to my conclusion now, Spurs. Then you pull the valve out, and what happens is stuff from the outside of the chamber rushes in. Why? Well, because it's at a higher pressure than the 50% lower pressure that was in the chamber. We're not going down to minus figures. We're just going down to half of, guess what? Atmospheric pressure. We're at 7, if you like, psi inside the chamber, whereas the outside pressure's 14, approximately, about double. Therefore, when you release the valve, the outside pressure being higher rushes into the chamber. It's not 0 at atmospheric pressure. Sorry.
Okay, again, so what you're doing is introducing something that's not there. If I have a container and I say, look, there's water already in this container.
Not water, we're talking about gas.
It doesn't matter. You use smoke. You can use gas, whatever. We're talking about a container and filling it with something that is in the container or not. Now, I could say to you, there is already water in this container. Now I'm going to fill up this bottle, and now there's double the amount of water. And then you'll say to me, but hold on, I didn't see the water. How do you know there's water already in that bottle? Well, just trust me, because there's just water already in there, and I'm going to add more water. And now you should add the water that I told you was in that bottle to the water that you've just added in that bottle. Okay, so I would have to demonstrate to you that there was already water in that bottle, and I could add that to the water that I'm about to add to the bottom.
Fine.
Like
Okay, no worries. You deny
Yeah.
gas because it's invisible. No worries.
No, I'm not denying anything. I'm saying we either believe or we demonstrate. So
No.
you can believe that
You can demonstrate it.
inside already it's pressurized. So if you have a
can.
container,
You can.
If you have a Coke can, you can
You do it
believe
every
there's
single
all-
time you hoover your floor. What happens is exactly as I've described with the vacuum chamber. Some of the pressure is removed from the chamber. As a subsequent effect, the gas pressure pushes the dirt into the chamber as it tries to fill it. So the higher pressure is what forces dirt into the chamber of your vacuum cleaner. That's how a vacuum cleaner works. It's at reduced pressure versus the atmospheric pressure, and the increase of atmospheric pressure over and above what's in the chamber is what forces dirt into the chamber. It's not sucking, it's being pushed in by the atmospheric pressure.
Okay. So again, if I have a container and I pour water into that container, I can tell you how much water is in that container. You're saying the container that is empty, you know how much air, liquid, whatever is in that container before you've put something in the container.
Not what I said
How
at
do you
all.
know this?
That isn't what I said. That isn't what I
Yeah.
said. I said you take a chamber and you evacuate it with a pump. The fact that it's got less means that the rest that's now at a higher pressure, i.e. atmospheric pressure being higher than the vacuum cleaner chamber that's been evacuated. Not completely, just partially. In fact, a very small difference is enough to have the pressure of the air force dirt and solid particulates up a tube.
What does this have to do? We're talking about a can. You're saying in this can, there is already 14.7 psi in the can.
Yeah, in your vacuum chamber, 14.7 went off, then you turn on a pump and remove some of it. Nowhere near vacuum levels, just some of it, to reduce the pressure in the chamber of your vacuum cleaner. And as a consequent result of that, the higher pressure then tries to force its way into the lower pressure system. It's a simple demonstration of entropy in effect. High
So hold on,
pressure
again.
going to low pressure. That's it.
You've got a vacuum chamber. You remove the air. You're saying you remove 14.7 pounds of pressure from that. Any container has 14.7 pounds of pressure inside that container, is what you're saying.
What, by a container, you mean if you go and buy a fish tank? Yeah,
Any container. If I take a mini Coke can, a large Coke can, you're saying, doesn't matter the size of the Coke can, you always add 14.7. There was always 14.7 in that can.
It's
That's
open,
what you're saying to
and it's
me.
at the same pressure as the air around it. It's just an open container with a hole in the top. Then yeah, it's just at the same pressure as the air around it.
Yeah, so you're saying every container has 14.7 of pressure inside that can.
No, if it's open, the air around it can freely move in, out, around. It's equalised. It's no longer got a difference in pressure.
What do you mean? So I'm saying if it's a closed can, a large closed can, small
a closed can. Well, then it depends what you pressurised it at.
No, you just close the lid. Open the lid.
Well, then it's still at the same pressure as when you closed it. If you get a jam jar and just put the lid on it and close it, well, then it's still at the same pressure inside
in fact, I think it's just
and
dawned on you,
out.
Nick. It's just dawned on you because you just realised any size can will not have 14.7 inside that can. A small, tiny little, a little egg cup.
Yeah, it will.
I have to add 14. So if I pump air into that little tiny container, which is 1 psi, I have to add 14 psi because it's in that cup.
Yeah. You have to put a valve on it so that it doesn't immediately just escape and equalise, so that you can increase the pressure beyond atmospheric pressure inside that small container. But if you just stick a lid on a jam jar, it's just exactly the same as the atmospheric pressure before you put the lid on.
Yeah, but we're asking what is inside the container.
Yeah, the
Atmospheric pressure.
How much? 14.
atmospheric pressure is the bar to state.
So you're saying the entire atmosphere is in that jar?
All of the atmosphere has pressure, yes.
No, all of the atmosphere is in that jar.
No,
How much
all of
hold on. When I add, if I add 4.7 to a can, what am I adding? 14.7 because what? It's in that can already.
Yeah, you're adding to the existing atmospheric pressure, which is already there.
Inside the can.
If the can is already in equilibrium with the surrounding air, and
Yeah.
then you put a one-way valve on it and pump in more than the outside air, it is a difference in pressure.
Right, so in the can, there's only like 4.7, and you're saying the rest of it is what's pushing on the can. It's not, the rest of it is not in the can.
No. It was already at approximately 14, and then you added another 4 approximately. So now it's at 18 overall.
But is that because that atmosphere was in the can already, or from the outside of the can?
It was already in the can. Nobody's walking around with...
How much?
Hold on, Spurs. Nobody's walking around with jam jars that are open that magically contain vacuums at lower pressures. You don't suddenly have to scoop in atmospheric pressure to a container for it to have the 14.7. It just has it anyway.
No, again, let me try to explain. If I take a can, which is 4.7, and I go to space, so-called space, how much is in that can?
Can't. There is no such thing.
All right, but let's just say there were, just hypothetically, because we're hypothetically.
No, I won't. Why? I can't do it. It doesn't exist. It isn't real.
All right. So less pressure then. Let's go. You go higher. Less than 14. Let's say you go to the top of your container where there's no pressure. What's in that can?
What do you mean where there's no pressure? Do you want to show me that as an example?
Well, I don't know. This is what I'm asking. You're saying there's a container.
You're saying you go to the top of your container where there's no pressure. That was your statement. And I'm saying,
no,
that wouldn't happen. But maybe you can show me that happening if that's what you think happens.
I can't show that. I'm asking. I'm trying to understand how you're
Don't ask me to justify your shitty claim.
It's not my claim. You're saying that there's a pressure from the outside. Saying if you went up
Spurs, you made a claim. You said you go to the top of your container where there's no pressure. That's your positive claim that you're now asking me to explain. And I'm saying, no. Do you want to show me that first? And you've gone, I can't, but I still want to argue about it.
It's not my claim of a container. It's your claim of gas pressure without a container.
It's your example. You take your container you said to me, and at the top of your container, in your example, Spurs, there was no pressure. Not something that happens in reality. And you can't demonstrate it, but here we are still arguing about it.
So how much pressure would there be at the top of your container?
Your container in your example that doesn't have any pressure according to you.
No, see, now you're being silly. I'm trying to figure out what do you mean. If there's 14.7 on the ground, as you go up, there's less pressure, yes?
Yes. On Earth.
So as you get to the top, well, what happens? Does it get to zero? What happens?
At the very top.
Yeah.
Oh, I've not got the vaguest idea. I've never been. I just know the lies that we're told about it being a vacuum, which would defy the second law of thermodynamics. Entropy would increase if it was a vacuum, and the gas would fill the space. However, beyond that lie, I have no idea. I've not visited the sky.
So why are you hypothesizing about what would happen?
You are. You're telling me that at the top there's no pressure. That's the only positive claim made so far by you.
Trying to understand your container, not mine.
What container? What container? I haven't made any claim about any bloody... What container are you talking about? I'm not making a claim here.
Can I actually... May I interject? I think I know what Spurs is doing here. What he's doing, Nathan, he's taking our...
You said you can't have gas pressure without a container. So either... that is confusing.
Yeah, he said, I've made a claim that you can't have gas pressure without a container. Absolutely correct. Yes, Spurs, that's correct.
He's wrong. But let me say something that I'm picking up from Spurs here. Maybe someone could correct me if I'm wrong. What he's doing is he's taking the statement, can't have gas pressure without a container. And you're talking, Nathan, in context of our Earth and the gas pressure we're experiencing here with the dynamic system here on the ground producing the gases. What Spurs is doing is using the Coke can and saying, okay, well, there's this outside temperature and it's affecting the pressure in the Coke can. Okay, and then you went back and forth there. So what Spurs is doing here is taking the container that we, Earth, and the pressure is, and he's saying outside of this container, what's the pressure? Like, we know. You already said you don't know what the sky is. Spurs is going outside this Earth container and saying, what about the pressure from out there? It's like, wait a minute, we're not even talking about that. We're talking about a dynamic system, Earth, the gas is being produced at ground level, and it cannot be contained without a container. And he's stepping outside of this container and saying, what's out there? Well, who knows?
Yeah, but can I point out here that that's actually a snuck premise? It's a complex question logical fallacy. The way you guys actually ask the question in the what do you call them? The housekeeping questions. So you say, is there any without the necessary antecedent of a container? That's a complex question logical fallacy, and that's actually what Spurs is pointing out right now.
That didn't make any sense.
Look up complex question logical fallacy.
Why it's only why is it so easily understood, but it's complex to you?
No, the guy who's speaking on Discord, can you make yourself any louder?
Yeah, sorry. Yes, sorry about that. So look up what a complex question logical fallacy is. What it does is it sneaks premises into the questions that are not proven. So necessary antecedent of a container is not a proven premise.
Oh yeah, it is.
Who's sneaking?
Yeah, it is. Sorry, you're wrong. You believe that you can have gas pressure without a container, Mr. Man on Discord.
Yes. No, hold up. It doesn't matter what I believe or not. What I'm saying is you're sneaking.
No. I'm not asking about your belief. I'm asking for a stone cold demonstration of your defiance of my statement of absolute fact. You cannot have gas pressure without a container. That's a stone cold fact, and I want you to show defiance of that. Not what you believe. You're having a laugh, right? If you think that's wrong, because it's not, then show me.
No, it's not.
Show me the counter positive. Show me gas pressure without a container if that statement of fact is wrong.
He's not wrong. You're not wrong.
I know it's not wrong, Spurs. I know it's not wrong. The guy on Discord's got a problem with the guy on Discord.
You idiot.
Sorry, say again.
What you're doing is you're sneaking a premise into there that you have not proven.
I'm sorry, I have. By countless examples of gas pressure being in containers. So, don't rumpus me while I'm talking. Don't rumpus me, Mr. Man on Discord. I'm addressing your statement saying that I haven't demonstrated this. Yeah, I have. And it can be demonstrated very easily and is demonstratable countless times in your everyday existence. Now, that is a statement of fact. You cannot have... I'm still talking. You cannot have gas pressure without a container, and if you say that I haven't proven that premise, then demonstrate the contrary.
Yeah. No,
Gas
Nathan, but it's still
pressure
a premise
without a
that you have to
container
prove.
is a cloud, you idiot.
Sorry, where'd you get the gas pressure from in the first instance? Guy who claimed cloud. Where did you get the gas pressure from in the first instance? Where did that gas pressure come from?
All gas has pressure. All gas, right?
Yes,
now, explain to me how you get a cloud.
Oh, it's a dynamic system.
You're claiming that.
Hold on, I'm just answering this guy with 2 words. Let's see if we get a response.
Creates a cloud.
I've just answered you with 2 words. Maybe you'd like to repeat them. Excuse me, I'm answering you. You just keep talking. I answered you, and you haven't acknowledged what I said. It was 2 words.
No,
Did you hear them?
I've acknowledged what you said, Nathan. What I'm saying is that
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the other rude guy, very loud, who says how... Excuse me. Trying to talk to the other guy. Guy who said cloud. Yeah, I'm answering you. Dynamic system in constant circulation.
Yes. A cloud is still a gas. All gas has pressure.
Yeah.
Unless you're telling me that every cloud has its own container.
Yeah. In order to have gas pressure in the first instance, beyond the dynamic system, you've got to have a container in the first instance. In other words, where did you get... I'm still talking. Excuse me. Excuse me, mate. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm in the middle of a sentence, my friend. I'm talking to you, and you're talking over me.
That's because you're a dumbass.
Oh, just an ad hominem attack. Say the 2 words that I used to address your question.
You're a dumbass.
No, those weren't the 2 words. The 2 words were dynamic system, while this other asshole talks all over me.
Simple.
Excuse me, other guy with quiet mic talking over me. Shut your mouth. Yeah, do
No,
you want to
Nathan,
repeat?
thank you
No,
very much. You've made a claim. You need to prove it.
What? We can't have gas pressure without a container, and we live in a dynamic system. Yeah, those two things are definitely true.
Nathan, you just keep repeating something that is not evident for a claim.
Oh, really?
Also,
So
you
we
said
don't
you've never
have the
been to
carbon
sky,
cycle.
although,
We
I
don't.
quote, you said you were a traveling salesman, that you sat at the back of a plane.
Yeah. And
Okay.
sorry,
So
what
that
does
means
this
you've
have
been
to do with a
at
dynamic
high
system?
altitude.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Why haven't
So
you
you
addressed
know
what I've said?
exactly what
Excuse me.
happens when
Excuse
you
me.
go
You're
up
not
in
addressing
altitude.
what I've said. You're now talking about my past career instead of addressing the two words I used to address your question about the clouds. You haven't addressed the two words I've used. You've now moved on to a different subject about my past career.
No,
Hello?
gas pressure without a container. is
Dynamic
the claim
system! Yeah, you're asking me, I'm answering you, you are not addressing my rebuttal. Dynamic system, my friend.
Nathan, you saying dynamic system is not a rebuttal.
Yeah, it is, because without the container in the first instance, that was my first question to him. Where'd you get the gas
Right,
pressure?
okay, so
I'm
what
still
you're telling me
talking!
is-
Excuse me, fundies,
hold on,
triggered
hold on.
fundies. I'm still talking, I'm trying to reply. He's saying it's not a rebuttal? Yeah, it is. Because in the first instance, to have that dynamic system, you'd need the necessary antecedent for your gas pressure. So yeah,
Nathan, you haven't proven
I
that
haven't
is a necessary
finished!
antecedent.
Oi, fundies! Can you try and calm down your triggered nature, because I am going to obliterate this complete red herring. No, my first question to him was, where do you get the gas pressure in the first place? Because you can't have a dynamic system without having gas pressure. And where do you get the gas pressure first? Oh, it seems I'm never going to get to the end of a sentence. I'm not going to get to make this demolition, because every time I do, I get told that it's not a rebuttal by someone over talking the rebuttal. So, fundies in Discord, I'll say it once more. My question was, where'd you get the gas pressure in the first place?
When the sun comes up, heats up the water evaporates to create a cloud.
Yeah, that would be a dynamic system. That would be my rebuttal to you saying that the clouds defy the second law of thermodynamics. No, my friend. It's in a cycle, a dynamic system, as you've just ably illustrated verbally.
Thermodynamics, dumbass.
Sorry, that's just an ad hom.
I think you should go look at a terrarium.
Yeah, where'd you get the gas
Right,
pressure
so what
from in the
you're telling
first
me
place?
is, to have gas pressure, you must first have a container.
That's correct. Also quoted by Conspiracy Cats, without the container, there can be no pressure. So your dynamic system wouldn't get very far unless you had a container to begin with. Now, would it?
Nope, you haven't proven that, Nathan.
Well, you demonstrate. No worries, I haven't proven it, even though I've already said on multiple occasions that you can't have gas pressure without a container. That's a stone cold fact of life. Now, I'm not going to be the one to go and get 1 million gas canisters and show you that as a fact. Yeah? There's plenty of demonstrations done by Dr. John Dee where he shows that you can't defy this natural law. Now, maybe you can.
And you're making the claim. You're making the claim. We don't have to prove jack.
Yeah, well, you're saying that you can have gas pressure without a container.
No, Nathan.
Yes,
See, that's the thing.
cloud,
You're trying to reverse the claim onto me. Nope, you made the claim.
Yeah, you can't have gas pressure without a container. It's a stone cold fact of life. Without the container, there can be no pressure. Conspiracy Cats, 2019. Without the balloon, there is no pressure. Conspiracy Cats, 2018. This is a science teacher talking to the subject of gas pressure, and specifically the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon.
You just keep repeating that, Nathan.
Yeah, that's because it's true, and you saying that me repeating it isn't proving it when it's a stone cold fact of life and you haven't shown anything that defies it isn't rebutting my fact of life.
Scientific Journal saying it's a stone cold fact of life.
It is. You can't have gas pressure without a container. Yeah, it is a fact of life, unless you can show me otherwise. So can you demonstrate gas pressure without a container? Because I can go through Google and just type in the word container, and you can see a million examples of needing a container to have gas pressure.
What container is a cloud pressing upon? I'm looking at the clouds in the sky right now.
Oh, I'll answer that. I don't know what the sky is, but I do know that we have a dynamic system called the hydrological system, which is a cycle that keeps going through phase changes, and those phase changes are visible. But how do you get the gas pressure in the first place when you've got a sky vacuum in your religion?
Does somebody run up there with a plastic container? A see-through
You're not answering me.
one?
You're not answering me. Maybe you'd like to repeat my question. You're not answering me.
Nathan, there's two logical fallacies, and when
You're not answering my question. You're not answering me. You don't seem to be answering me. Every time I ask it, it seems to be that you point something else out to me rather than actually address the question. Where did you get the gas pressure from in... and there he goes again. He's not going to let the question be heard. Where did you get the gas pressure in the first place?
Nature created the gas pressure, you fucking retard.
No need to swear at me, my friend. According to your fundy sphere belief, and I absolutely am certain that you have a sphere belief, am I wrong?
I don't have any beliefs about things, Nathan.
Yeah, you got a belief you live on a sphere. But in your fundy sphere belief, there's a vacuum.
Nathan?
There's a vacuum. So I'm asking where you got the gas pressure from in the first place.
Nathan, that's the whole point of what your premise is. You're making a claim that it's because it's a container. There's no proof of that.
I haven't claimed that. No. I'll ask the question again. In your fundy sphere belief, you've got a vacuum. Pretty much everywhere. We're a tiny insignificant dot according to current heliocentric priests. And that tiny little dot that's not really very big at all compared to the vast, massive, ever-expanding vacuum. And I'm asking you, the fundy with a sphere belief, where you got the gas pressure from. Now you can say, where do you get it from? And I go, I don't know what the sky is. That's my answer, I don't know. But you believe it's a vacuum, don't you?
You made the claim. You don't get to try to say,
you don't know. Hey, you don't know jack shit, Nathan.
Yeah, I don't know what the sky is. But you guys definitely have a positive assertion that the sky is a vacuum now, don't you?
Pagey,
don't know nothing.
Pagey, hold up. Hey, Nathan, here's what I'm trying to say, all right?
That
Without
wasn't
swearing
me
at you,
talking,
I'm not
mate.
upset with you. Hold up.
I'll just let Discord argue amongst themselves.
You don't get to try to get to me to make a claim when you're the one making the claim. You have to defend your claim, not try to get me
Nathan,
to make
maybe make them try and answer what is PSI, because these guys are such... I don't know.
Yeah, my claim is clear. I'll make it again. See if I get a chance to make my claim clear. You cannot have gas pressure without a container.
Yeah. Prove it.
Yeah, countless examples of containers.
That's not proving it. Saying countless examples has never worked for you with any of things like gravity or any other things.
What?
I think you're right. Don't let just countless examples prove your point. You have to say.
Do you think I'm right? Sorry, did you say you think I'm right?
Prove man-made gas pressure without a container. That's what Nathan's after. He's not after natural gas pressure without a container. After man.
Exactly. And that's called a complex question logical fallacy.
No, you asked for proof of gas pressure with a container, and Nathan says there's countless. You're speaking over me again.
No, you're just saying something wrong.
You're speaking over me again.
You're saying something that I did not say.
You're speaking over.
Cry about it, 10th man. Okay, here's the deal.
I'm not crying about it.
Right, can we get back to science, Nathan? I mean, this is quite ridiculous.
Do it like
guys, stupid as stupid is. You give examples of containers holding gas, and you say that's not enough.
Yeah.
No, you guys have to actually make the evidence.
You have to.
No, you guys have the snub premise.
To.
You're making the claim, not me.
Show me tire pressure without a tire, and we'll have a discussion.
No, that's what you call proving the negative and begging the question fallacy. Thank you.
No, it's proving that you cannot have gas pressure without a container, as countless.
This is Mr. Reverse Reification Fallacy guy who has to come up with a different fallacy every 2 minutes. Can you prove that we have gas pressure without a container? Yes or no?
I've got it on screen, Nathan, if you want to present it. It's from NASA.
All
It says
gas
pressure.
Ahead,
Dude,
Anthony.
Nathan, just put it on screen. This is from NASA. Will he accept that this is strong enough evidence for the requirement of a container for gas pressure?
You've got mine on, Nathan. Put Anthony's on.
Oh, my bad, sorry.
Yeah.
But can you see the screen, fella? Pressure
That's it.
is force over area, and NASA state that pressure force acts perpendicular to enclosing surfaces. If you're not happy with the citation from NASA, anything on page 1 of Google all says the same thing when you ask for what is the cause of gas pressure, and it's highlighted. It says pressure is caused by the collisions between the atoms of gas and the walls of the container. If you haven't got the container, Conspiracy Cat's demonstrated that without the balloon, there is no pressure. And he also made a faux pas recently when he said that the pressure inside the tin of Coke was less than the air pressure around it rather than greater than. So we're all familiar with how gas pressure works, but can you demonstrate gas pressure without the container? That's the question.
Yeah, I know, and it's a snuck premise fallacy.
No,
now
they
my
can't
question
demonstrate
to you
it.
is
So
are you
what we've
wanting
had is a
natural
citation.
gas pressure without a container or man-made gas pressure without a container?
Yeah, you're just rambling. So we've had a citation, and if you wanted cowbell with the citation, as I say, there are countless examples. You won't accept me. I'm too lazy to do what Anthony's done, basically. I'll just say, yeah, there are countless examples. I'm not going to be proven wrong, so I'm smugly just going to assert that shit and you hand-wave dismissing it, which is fine. I'll do that all day. That's sometimes how the show goes. But here's a citation. The cowbell is the same as I asserted. There's countless examples of this. Now, you're saying that that's not a good enough citation and example. Do you have any example of gas pressure defying this citation and countless examples?
That's asking to prove a negative. That's a logical fallacy.
Asking
let me
you
try.
to prove
Let me
that
try.
you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container. That's unfair, is it?
It's a snuck premise fallacy question. Complex question.
Fallacy.
You just keep saying the word fallacy. Yeah, you can't have gas pressure without a container. It's a necessary antecedent. That's fact of life.
Yeah,
that's
and
what I
I'm
said at the
saying that
beginning. And when I do, he gets very triggered and starts talking over me. Yeah, now we've had a citation from NASA.
Oh, a citation from NASA.
Yeah, gone very quiet again. Yeah, a citation from NASA that makes it clear you can't have gas pressure without a container, Fundy. You hearing me clear?
You guys love to cite NASA.
No, we don't. We think they're lying through their back teeth about sky vacuums, the thing that you and your Fundy religious belief has, that defies their own citations about needing a container. Nice hand-wave dismissal. Laughter's not going to get around the fact that you need the walls of a container to press upon to have gas pressure. That's the necessary antecedent to have it. Now, your Fundy laughter doesn't defy that fact that I state ad nausea, and you haven't got anything to show contrary to a stone-cold fact easily demonstratable.
This globe is so far out of his depth, it's unbelievable.
Oh, trust me, I'm not far out of my depth. I know exactly where your guys' logical fallacies are. I've listened to you guys for a couple months.
You definitely
Your whole
don't.
belief
You
is a
definitely don't.
fallacy, mate.
Sorry.
Oh, I promise
Let
I
me
do.
have a go.
Your fantasy
What Nathan's
world.
really upset about right
Can
now.
I have a couple of minutes with the
Cloud is
gent?
a gas.
Go ahead, bro.
Then tell me, what container is a cloud pressing upon?
Yeah, and I asked you,
so
where'd you get the gas pressure?
The opposite claim.
He's just asked me the same question, and this triggered Fundy's going to answer for me. Yeah, I already explained. I don't know what the sky is, but there's a positive assertion by fundamentalist religious zealots who believe they live on a sphere model, who say that the sky is a vacuum. And my question to you would be, where did you get the gas pressure in the first place to have that dynamic system, given that the sky is claimed to be a vacuum?
Nature creates the gas pressure. Are you actually that retarded?
Yeah,
Can we have a
nature
citation
creates
for that,
pressure
please?
by pressing on the walls of a container. And I'm asking,
Let's
given
have a
that
citation.
you have a sphere sky belief, where did that pressure come from in the first place?
Right, you understand how a cloud is made, yes?
Yes, it's a dynamic system. It's called the hydrological system. Yes, I absolutely understand those phase changes that give rise to clouds.
Right. And you've just said you can't have gas pressure without a container.
That's correct, yes. We
All
would need
gas-
the antecedent of a container in order to have gas pressure in the first instance. That's
gas.
correct.
So what is a cloud pressing upon?
In a cycle. It's part of a dynamic system. It's going through phase changes. However, in order to be a... I'm in the middle of answering this. Fundy just talks through every word I reply with. Literally every word I've just said he's talked through. So in order to have that cycle... And there he goes again, as soon as I start to reply. So you're going to listen to me telling you that you're talking through my reply, and when I start replying again, you're going to talk through me again, are you, Fundy? Triggered?
No, that's because you keep saying the same bloody thing over.
Yes, because it's true. Yeah.
Because you have no response for it. That's why. And the only response you have is to call him an idiot. But you still can't prove that you have gas pressure without a container. And you just ask, what is the cloud pressing on? So yeah, you're the one that sounded a little silly right now. But
Are you now telling me that a cloud is not a gas?
It's going through a phase change.
Are you
It is
telling
part
me
of a
it's not a
dynamic
gas?
system. It is going through a cycle. However, to have...
Does all gas not
and there he
go through
goes
some
again.
sort of
I'm
cycle?
trying to address you, but you will not let me get this sentence out. It's because we're challenging your reification of a heliocentric model, and you don't like it. You want to believe the Earth's a sphere, and we pointing out that your sky vacuum is violated by this dynamic system you're using as an example. In other words, if the sky was vacuum, you wouldn't be able to have this dynamic system because you need the antecedent of a container to press upon in the first instance. It's a natural law. It's been cited by your fundy priests at NASA, but you haven't got a response for it, have you, my friend?
It's called cherry picking, Nathan. Also a logical fallacy.
Cherry picking? What? Stating a natural law is cherry picking? No, 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 my friend. It's using laws of nature to take a dump on your reification of the heliocentric model, which has a sky vacuum.
Because it doesn't have a container, then it must not be a gas. Is that what
No,
you're saying?
the cloud would just evaporate into space if there wasn't a container with the other air around it already having
Instantly
pressure
evaporate into space.
created.
Can someone bring up the...
So why doesn't the cloud completely fill the sky all across the land then? Because according to Nathan...
Because it's contained.
It's
contained, dude.
It would fill everything.
Well, let's see if he can answer his own
you can't
question.
have gas pressure without a container,
That's
so
correct.
it would fill everything. So nobody
Yeah, that's
on
right,
the
mate.
planet would
Let
be
him
able
say
to
it.
see because it would be one
Who's
massive
rumpusing
fucking
him?
cloud.
No,
Yeah?
there's not enough water. You can't. It wouldn't make clouds that big. There's
But
only
it's
let me have a couple of minutes with him.
Static, so it wouldn't fill equally. It's
a
dynamic.
Gas. It's not water.
Changing.
It's a gas.
Let me have a couple of minutes with him. Let's see if we can do. Let me have a couple of minutes with him. Let's see if we can make him look silly, or let's see if he can prove his case.
really just say
Nathan, would you
clouds
mind
aren't
presenting
water?
on screen so we can see it?
Sure.
Now, the guy in Discord, I realise that you're not going to see it on screen without a delay. So, are you able to see the screen now that Nathan's sharing it?
There's only a fraction of a second in it between the live stream and us.
Yeah, but I know that he has to watch the live screen, the watching page to be able to see it.
Yeah, there's almost no latency. There's literally a second between the two of them. There's nothing in it.
So, can you confirm that you're seeing on screen what's being presented?
It's not talking to you, my friend.
Anyway,
gentleman-
you still haven't answered the fact that
he's not.
all gas
Hold on, Anthony.
has pressure.
Hello. Do I
A
have to
cloud
mute
with a
you?
gas-
Do I have to mute you? He is not
I
talking
am
to you.
I want to talk to the guy that's arguing that you don't need a container for gas pressure.
Yeah, not that guy.
I don't know what his name is.
No, guys, here's the deal. You got to prove it. You have.
We go. So, can you
Actually,
see?
you made a counterclaim, so you need to back that up.
Yeah, can you see the watch
You
page?
made a counterclaim, you need to back it up.
We are doing.
I didn't make the claim, you did.
Yeah, you're just obfuscating.
You
we
you
are
made
asking
the
a simple
counterclaim.
question.
You came
Can
in
you all
and
shut up
claimed he
in
was
Discord?
wrong, so you made
Can you
a
shut
claim.
up?
I
Can you shut
did
your
make
mouth?
a counterclaim.
Can you
I
shut up?
simply
I've heard
said
the word
your
counterclaim
premise-
6 times.
You did.
Over the top.
That's how that works.
Shut up!
You countered his
Shut
claim with
up!
another
I
claim.
don't need to hear the word counterclaim 16 more times. We're asking the guy who's making his argument with Anthony if he can see the watch page. Simple yes or no.
No.
Not you, you stupid moron!
Come on, it's simple.
Hello,
Can you see the watch
Fundies?
page? Yes
Yeah,
or
you're going.
no?
Hold on, Anthony. You're going on and on and on about countering it. What, 5, 6, 10 times? He's trying to, but you can't see the watch page. We're live right now. All you got to do is go to the watch page.
Nathan, can you identify the gent that's
Don't
speaking
laugh,
so I can refer to him by
Getting
name?
laughter out of them. Just the dicks.
Too
Fundy
complex, Wayne,
dicks.
don't you get it?
Is this what we're getting from the globe side of the argument? Giggles. That's what we get.
No, this is the flat Earth side giggling at the Globers.
Oh, that's
Nathan,
Paige. What's up, Paige?
Nathan, let's patronise him. Look, just follow my lead, Nathan. What's the
Fine.
guy talking's name?
I don't know.
Okay. So we've got it on screen. It's being presented for all of the audience. And I'll read it for the benefit of the guy that may or may not be able to see it. And then I want him to answer. And what I remind myself of is Rumpus's 45-minute obfuscation of the word "and," because this is going to come into play again now. It says the pressure a gas exerts from the motion of its molecules. Gas molecules move about freely, bouncing off container walls and one another. So you need to have container walls and you need to have gas molecules for you to have gas pressure. Now, Rumpus would argue that you don't need to have one or the other, but we all know what "and" means. You need to have the walls of the container and you need to have gas molecules to have gas pressure. Do you disagree with the sentence that's on screen now?
Yes, where is your evidence of that? I see the
Oh my goodness.
Well, at this point, we're presenting citation that supports the evidence. But if you disagree that this is the requirement, can I have citation from you to furnish your assertion that you don't agree with it with a valid reason?
Yeah, but I know how you guys like to cherry pick information.
Oh my God, this guy's going to have to be shut up.
So my question to you is
right.
Yes,
you
I have
stupid
evidence, Anthony.
fundy
Look,
dick.
I have to kind of disagree with.
And you, Spurs.
Spurs.
Spurs. I just want the dude on Discord to address Anthony, please.
Yeah, no problem. So if I were to go about trying to give evidence for gravity, which you guys rightly ask for, I actually really applaud you guys for doing so. You wouldn't really like it if I went to a web page and read you a sentence.
We're not asking for evidence for gravity. We're asking for evidence that counters the assertion that we're presenting for gas pressure requiring containment and gas particles.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that you guys are saying in all instances it must have a container simply by virtue of asking the complex question logical fallacy that you do.
Well, but I asked you, did you agree with this? And you said no. And now I'm asking for citation that at least gives us some reason for why your disagreement is based on sound logic, at least. Have you got any citation for that?
Yeah, sure. Because reading a sentence is not evidence of your claim. You don't have to
No, that's
come
why I
back
used
to
the
me
word
and say,
citation.
so, hey, give me evidence that you don't believe my claim. I'm saying no. You have to prove your claim to me by not reading something that's just a sentence on a website.
No worries, car tyre. No worries, diver's pressurised bell that he goes into. There you go.
These are all poor excuses. Look, can I have a go at?
Hold on. There you go. You've had a couple of examples. You've had a couple of examples now.
Oh,
Spurs, why would you want to save your colleague here?
Propane tank.
I'm trying to save you, Anthony.
I'll say it like you, Nathan. Evidence.
I don't need you to save me, Spurs.
That was evidence.
Well,
It's right in front of your eyes.
Oh,
You are so dumb.
A sentence and then Nathan saying tire pressure.
You are
That's
so
evidence.
dumb.
Yeah.
You are so dumb.
Yeah, it is.
You're
That's
so
correct.
dumb, Armaisty. So dumb. I
I'm
can't
not
even
dumb.
believe this.
I'm holding you guys to
No,
the
you're
same
dumb.
standard. Hey, hold up,
Go
Jim. I'm holding you to the same standard you hold everyone else.
You will
Everyone
go
else.
drive your car today on tires with pressure and deny it. That's how dumb you are.
I'm not
You are
denying
so
anything.
dumb.
I'm not denying anything. What I'm saying is
Dumb.
prove it. I'm saying
Dumb.
Getting a bit of ranty wind noise as well while this is all going on.
Dumb. I'm tired of this guy. He drives a car with tire pressure and denies it. What a dummy. That's the best the Globers could do. Oh,
Yeah, it's pretty
bring me
sad.
Uncle
Is that a logical
Fester.
fallacy?
Are you Cousin It or Uncle Fester? Which one are you? You are so dumb.
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who've tuned in live on the Nathan Oakley 1980 live stream. If you want to see the continuation of this conversation, you need to click on the link in the info box below this video and go to my second channel, which is called Nathan Oakley, where the after show will continue later on this evening, 10 PM UK time. A massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of today's live debating panel for making this debate possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the live audience for tuning in, smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. As I say, stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Hold on.
That isn't right, Spurs.
Well, it is right because you've just shown.
It isn't. I'm not showing a model. I'm showing citation that supports the assertion that gas pressure requires gas and containment.
I know. That's the model. That's the assumption that molecules act in this way. Now, look. Are you seeing my screen?
Could I say
Hold on.
something?
Let me just address that, Spurs. If I produced a propane tank, would you say that's a model of a propane tank?
No.
Right. So it's just a demonstration of this actually happening then.
No. What Anthony's showing was a model of what they suppose happens inside the container.
I didn't. That's wrong.
Show your diagram again.
Okay.
Could I just say as well that these citations that Anthony brings up aren't just words. They're actually words that are written by people that have actually formulated tests, ideas, experiments to get these ideas and write them down and have them peer reviewed. So it's not just simply words.
Spurs, this isn't a model. This is a citation that supports the assertion that you need a container to have gas pressure. You also need gas, but it's not a model. It's a citation.
Yeah. Look to the right. That picture there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an illustration.
Yeah,
it's not a model.
Yeah, so that is what they assume the particles are doing.
Okay.
Right? Now look. If we look at my picture here, right, I'm just trying to explain this, the best way I can here. So your model versus reality, right? You see my
no, Spurs, stop calling my model. It's not a model. It's a citation. There is a difference.
All right. Well,
it's got a liquid now. This is a liquid. Paint's a liquid.
You see my? Well, okay. Well, what? Any gas that's you can use anything. You can use. Let's go back here. You can use any appliance where the gas is pressurized, right? I mean, there's all sorts. It doesn't matter.
Make your point, Spurs.
Yeah,
what's your point?
It doesn't matter, does it? So I just use that one just to illustrate the wall is necessary, right? So where's the picture I already had? Lost it now. This late.
What's your point, Spurs?
The
point is that we have gas here. We have it. This is the question: is this still a gas here in this state?
No, it's a liquid. It's paint. However, there's a pump pressurizing the air to force the liquid paint onto the wall.
Yeah, atomized liquid.
Spurs, did you really just ask, is paint gas?
No, again, forget the idea that it's paint. It can be anything. It can be
it's
water.
atomized.
The lady's literally painting with
Spurs.
It can be water.
Spurs. It's literally atomized paint. It's very tiny, tiny particles of paint. Otherwise, if it wasn't paint and it wasn't atomized, it wouldn't put paint on something.
For goodness sakes. It can be anything in the can. It doesn't matter about the liquid. It doesn't matter what it is. Anything in the can is pressurized, right?
What's your point, though?
So the point is, like Conspiracy Cat says, without the container, the gas is not pressurized. So the question is, if the gas here is pressurized in here, and then when it's dispersed, this is still a gas, there's no wall, so all of this will just disperse into the atmosphere until it hits a wall.
No,
Yeah,
that's
but
no. Hold on, Anthony. No, that's a solid. So what you've got there is presumably a deodorant can or something of that nature, where you have solid particulates that get suspended by a high pressure gas and then are forced out of the container, leaving deposits of the solid on your body. So what you're seeing is deposits of a solid.
Yeah, okay. Show me inside the container then how it looks. Get me an image of how it looks. The gas inside the container. What does it look like?
Well, gases are generally, unless you use like dye, they're generally invisible, aren't they?
Well, let's have a look. Let's see let's show the dye. Let's see how it looks inside the can. So you're saying it's like this outside.
Well, if it's a tin of deodorant, it layers over time and settles. That's why you have to shake it up.
So we know what we're talking about. You're saying this is a different form to inside here. Okay, fair enough. Let's have a look.
It's equalizing with the environment it's in, isn't it? The lower gas pressure.
But what does it look like?
It's not a look. It's not an attribute of visual apprehension. It's an attribute of pressure.
Yeah, but what state is it in? What does the gas look like inside of
pressure?
The bottle?
Doesn't. It's invisible. Right. But so what you're seeing in these examples, Anthony's trying to say, is atomized particles. But the mechanism that's forcing them out of the can, the stuff that you can see, that is just gas. But that bit's invisible, Spurs.
That bit's invisible?
Yeah, you can't see that bit.
So if you can't see that bit, how are you making any assumptions?
The gas that's in the can that comes out is invisible.
The effects of the invisible bit
is the paint.
Yeah, you can't see.
We can see the effects. Spurs. We can see the effects of the invisible bit, forcing stuff that we can see to do stuff in amongst the invisible stuff.
I can't believe what I'm hearing. You're saying you cannot see what's happening inside, but you're going to assume that things are bouncing because you say so.
No, if I take a can of just compressed air and spray it, you might see some condensing liquid that's in the air around the nozzle. But what happens when it's actually flowing, it's coming out, is you don't see anything. You might see dust being moved out of the way. But then if you put something in the can alongside the compressed air, like deodorant or paint, you'll see that doing what formerly was just the particles of dust being moved. You'll see in amongst that formerly invisible gas, particles of paint. So you've got two examples, one where you don't see anything, one where you see paint mixed in with the invisible effect that's happening of stuff getting blown out of the way.
So here we have inside, so the tube is pulling the liquid, compressing it, and squeezing it out through that nozzle.
Yeah, and do you know what they call that bottle? They call that bottle an atomizer.
Now you're saying that there are particles
He didn't respond, didn't even listen. What did I just say? What's the bottle called? Spurs, you're just completely ignoring every single response now. What did I just say about what the bottle's called?
That's not the question. We're talking
about.
It's called
an atomizer. It's called an atomizer.
That's not the question.
Yeah. Why would I bring it up?
It's not relevant to what we're talking about.
It's perfectly relevant. When you push that valve on the top, it forces the pressure up for a very brief moment, and the mechanism inside that bottle that you've taken off screen atomizes the liquid. That's its purpose. So that you can atomize the liquid with a little bit of input of pressure from you mechanically turning it into gas pressure.
What's going on here then in the bottle?
You're temporarily increasing the pressure by pushing down on the top of it.
No,
man, I can't believe it. This is making me so annoyed.
Area. Well, Anthony, what's happening in this area with the particles?
Well, Spurs, do you agree that we're told that the gas pressure is bouncing off all surfaces of the inside?
Absolutely not. This is what I'm asking you. What's telling you things are bouncing in this area here right now?
We're citing what we're told is what they tell us is going on.
No, but
So
I'm
if
asking you. I'm asking you, why are you agreeing with their model? I'm asking you, saying that they've seen it, and I'm saying
because I haven't got any reason to disbelieve it at this point.
In this area here, you see my screen?
Yeah.
How do they know? How do we know what's going on in this area?
Right, I accept your point. But let me ask you back, Spurs. What makes you think that they might be wrong about it?
Because I think what's happening here is something completely different. Any molecules that hit this wall will hit the wall and go down the wall. And what's happening is everything is trying to settle. So if you leave that can alone, you'll get this gradient here. And obviously, because it's pressurized, the gradient causes them to settle.
It's not pressurized. It's not pressurized, right? It's atmospheric pressure inside the bottle. You temporarily increase the pressure when you push down on the mechanism.
So all I'm asking is that the particles outside, everything outside of this can, there is no pressure on outside here. The only pressure is inside this can. You have to have this can to have pressure. Out here, there's no container, so they're free to move about wherever they want to go. And you're saying that these particles will move, hit the floor, bounce back up, go to the roof, bounce back down.
No, those are solid particles suspended in the gas. They're not going to bounce. They're not gas. The visible bit is something else.
For Schemo,
it
you
just
can't
talks through me every
see
time.
that.
It gets so annoying. He makes a statement. I start to rebut it. Middle of my statement, he just starts talking through me. No, Spurs. Let's see if I can try that a second time without you talking through every bloody word. The stuff that you are seeing on screen is not gas, but solids. Suspended. Temporarily. They're not going to bounce when they hit the floor. They're just going to hit the floor.
But you're saying in this area where the black area is, the particles here will bounce and hit the floor and bounce back up.
Yeah, it's bouncing. That's right. At 14.7 psi at sea level. Yes, that's correct. You can't see it. It's gas. And there he goes again, talking through every bloody word I say. No, Spurs, you can't see it. It's invisible. Does that mean it doesn't exist? No, it's still definitely there. I gave you an example with a vacuum being evacuated to a small degree of lower pressure, and then the increased pressure on the outside of the chamber, forcing dirt and particulate matter into the chamber. Well, what you're doing is the reverse of that, increasing the pressure in the chamber so that it forces it out of the chamber. It's just the mechanism I described with the vacuum in reverse, again, utilising the neutral pressure at 14.7 at sea level. But you can't see it, it's invisible, that doesn't mean it's not real.
Yeah, it does. And if you can't demonstrate that, well, look, let's have a look at this. This is what you guys say, that when you go up in altitude, the balloon changes in size. So I won't play it. I'll just go through the inside and outside. So they've got the balloon inside, a nice balloon. And then they take the balloon outside, and the balloon is in cold temperatures. And look what happens. So now, obviously, when they go back inside...
Arwen, I'll pay you to kick him.
Go back inside. What happens?
How much?
Go ahead, go ahead.
When you go back inside, what happens is the balloon starts to increase, just like there is more pressure. Now, you would tell me that there is more pressure inside.
Arwen!
Then
Yeah, I'm trying.
No, don't look.
Don't kick him.
I'm not playing it. I'm
Okay,
not playing
Spurs,
it.
do you want an answer, or will this diatribe go on indefinitely? Will I get to reply? Probably not. I'll probably get talked through by Spurs. Yeah. Temperature and pressure are intrinsically linked. By increasing the temperature, you are also increasing the velocity that the particles inside the balloon move. That's it.
Okay, so again, let me respond to that. We have 14.7 at surface level inside, and we have 14.7 outside according to the pressure pushers. Now, if there is 14.7 here and 14.7 there, how can we have a sudden increase from just going from one step to the next step? Please
I can
Because there'll
tell
be a
you,
temperature
if I
change.
may, Nathan.
Temperature change.
Yes, The temperature inside the house is warmer than the temperature above on top of it.
Got there. Temperature change. The only variable that was changed in this was the temperature. Now, if
that has an influence.
Higher in elevation, the same thing will happen. That the temperature will change the structure of the balloon. We don't have 14.7 outside and then 14.7 inside.
Yeah, we do.
It's so there's zero pressure, and the only change is the temperature. This is an excellent video that proves you can't have 14.7 inside and 14 outside.
Sorry.
Get your barometer.
No, I'm letting him finish because he's not going to stop jacking off until he does.
Well, show me your barometer inside. Take your barometer outside, and let's see how the pressure changes, guys.
It didn't. There's a good chance
why
it didn't.
don't you, Spurs Chemo? Why don't you?
Spurs. Pressure and temperature are intrinsically linked.
Yeah, the one follows the other.
Oh,
raise the temperature and then the pressure will also increase.
Okay,
raise the temperature and then the pressure will also
talk through every bloody word. We're going to get 10 seconds between us, Arwin, before bloody Spurs talks incessantly over the top. We heard you, every word of it, Spurs, twice. We heard your assertion 3 times. Now we're trying to respond to you. Shock horror, that means shut up.
Okay.
Right. So, yeah, there is a link between pressure and temperature. Namely, if you isolate a room and you have a temperature and you have a pressure, if you increase the pressure, then eventually the temperature will also go up. But if you raise the temperature, then eventually the pressure will also go up. But not at the same amount. The one always follows the other. So you can't just say like one doesn't exist. Because they are not
fantasy,
unmistakably the same thing.
So you want people to
now
believe,
I'm finished.
You want people to believe between this this door line here, you have more pressure in here. So the pressure is now 15.7, 20.7 inside, and then perfectly 14.7.
No, nobody's asserted that. No. You've got one with a bloody great... Oh, right, that was my response time, was it? No, that's not what was said, so I'm now going to correct you if I get a chance and I'm not completely talked over indefinitely by Spurs. So no, Spurs. There's a lens flare on one of them. We have no idea about any of the situation. We don't know if there's air conditioning running in the building and not outside. We don't know the difference in temperature between the two of them. We're not asserting there's a different pressure. We're asserting that there's a different temperature. Yes, I appreciate you only believe there's temperature differentials, but those two things, pressure, the pressure that's both inside and outside of that room, are different to a small degree. But what's obviously different is the temperature due to the sun and the lens flare that you've got directly on it when it's outside. So there's a difference in temperature, yes. But that's affecting the pressure because they are intrinsically linked.
Okay.
Right.
So
and
again,
outside is bound to be a lot cooler.
Conspiracy cats would say, "Oh, I've got a balloon here. I've got 4.7 in the balloon. I need to add 14.7 to the balloon." And the guy outside would say, "Well, yeah, I also need to add 14.7 to the 4.5, 4.3, 3.7. Yeah, anyway, let me just add the 14.7 that's pushing all the way on this balloon. And yeah, the guy in here will also add the 14.7 pressing on this balloon. Yeah, wonderful, isn't it? But let's just add it anyway, even though we don't know how we came to this 14.7. We know that there's 4.7 inside, but yeah, we'll just go inside and outside and add it arbitrarily as you wish, whatever you like.
Spurs, can I ask you something about that balloon for a second?
Sure.
Is pressure related to volume?
Is pressure related to volume? So obviously, the more volume, pressure. Yeah, of course. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. If I grab that balloon on one of those little flowerets, and I just actually take it and reduce the volume inside that balloon, the pressure in the balloon is going to increase. And it has nothing to do with temperature.
Well, again, can you demonstrate that, show that? Can we see that? I've shown again, yet again, once again, that temperature is the only variable. And we've heard a lot about this pressure. We've heard it for the last 2-3 weeks now. But we're not able to see, and Nathan's just said it, temperature just changed. We had another video, temperature was the change. We've not had one experiment where you guys say, look.
Have you not played with the balloon and squeezed the balloon and it increased in pressure? Or a toothpaste, when you twist the bottom of the toothpaste and it increases the pressure and pushes out the toothpaste? I mean, you don't have to increase the temperature. You can just reduce the volume and increase the pressure.
Do you know how much of a laugh we had and the ridiculousness? We showed this in Discord, and the ball earthers were horrified. They were like, "Oh, this must be a trick. She must be blowing the balloon up inside and deflating it when she goes outside." He couldn't believe what he was seeing.
No,
right?
No.
It's a total red herring.
I don't want to hear what someone's got it wrong with, right? The balloon is a closed system. Now, a closed system will allow the transfer of energy. So, not stuff, the air isn't getting in and out, but the energy of the sun that's blatantly on top of it with a lens flare in the camera when you go outside, that is going to affect it. And because it's a closed system, you've got a closed, sealed container, that energy can be contained and increased in that small area because of the balloon itself. So, in essence, you've got a system in and of itself that's going to be affected greatly by temperature because it's a closed system. Unlike the air around it, which definitely is gas pressure. I'm not going to make any claims about how we've got it, I don't know. But the balloon, I can see it. It's a closed system, there it is, but it can still allow the transfer of energy. And that's precisely what's happening. The energy of the sun is going into that balloon, increasing the pressure by increasing the velocity or energy of each particle of air that's in that balloon. It's a fairly simple process. It's not a magic trick. She's not pulling a bloody pump out of her ass and then sticking it in between the rooms. No, it's just simple properties of closed systems.
Yeah, it's just thermal expansion.
So, I mean, that does sound, it does sound interesting what you're saying. But, for me, you have to have a demonstration. And I've been able to show, in, laboratory conditions, obviously on YouTube showing us these demonstrations that the cause, if we're looking for a scientific cause, and that's what I'm interested in, is in the cause of this effect. Now, if she did this in front of me and popped the balloon out and then popped it in, I'd want to investigate what's going on here. Is it pressure from outside the balloon, or is it simply a temperature change? Now, we can control those things in a laboratory. We can show that if you move from one medium to the other, a different temperature, you can find a change, the cause, obviously, because of the temperature. Now, if it were pressure of any kind, real pressure, look, let's have a look. Oh, sorry, I'm not playing. But look, where she squeezes the balloon like this is pressure, okay? You're saying that there's atmosphere pressing on this, like she's pressing on this balloon. Now, you're saying it's like invisible hands pressing all over.
No, what she's
Damn
pressing...
it, how long do I have to listen to this
No.
shit?
Spurs, what she's pressing is the invisible gas inside that balloon. So when she presses the container and uses the principle that was described to you by Paul, Boyle's law in effect, she's increasing the pressure by decreasing the size of the container.
Decreasing the size of the container?
Yeah.
Yeah, Spurs, do you agree that pressure is force over area?
Yeah, I was just about to ask that before. That's why I did it before. Like, do you agree with that law?
So if whatever volume's inside that balloon, if you make the balloon smaller, you're reducing the size of the area that the air is inside, right?
Yeah.
So if the same matter is in there, but you've reduced the size of the volume, that's going to increase the pressure because you've made the volume smaller, right?
Yes. I can demonstrate. Let me show you.
You're describing to him, Anthony, the basic.
Okay, you asked me a question.
You're describing the basic principles of how an air compressor works, right? yes, you squeeze the air that's naturally at a given pressure to begin with, how much it presses on the container, 14.7 psi, and then you squeeze it. So if that balloon, by force, if those hands just crushed the container, making it smaller and smaller, you'd move all of those particles that are invisible inside the balloon into a smaller space and increase the pressure. Well, they were at a pressure to begin with, and you've made the container smaller, increasing that pressure. But you're arguing there is no pressure to begin with. So what are they producing an effect of by decreasing the container? Well, an increase of the original pressure that was lower. But you're saying that original pressure doesn't exist. This is complete nonsense.
No, what I'm saying is you asked inside the balloon as it gets smaller and smaller, right? So there comes a point when they just freeze and they stop. So I asked the question before, when the balloon was in this state, if I can find it now, the balloon, yeah, this one here. So when the balloon is in this state, like this, okay, we could not add any more air to this balloon because the balloon would break. So the particles inside of this balloon now are frozen. They've stopped moving. So all the area inside of here, we cannot add any more air. Well, if we could add a little bit, maybe more, but not too much more for the balloon to
pressure would break.
Sorry?
Are you going to get to a point anytime soon?
The point is, I'm answering Anthony's question. He's saying the balloons get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay, what happens? So when you take the balloon outside, it gets smaller and smaller. The particles will freeze, right? So once they freeze in this state,
God.
well, what's next?
Arwen, I'm begging you.
There is no state beyond freezing. Solid is the final state.
Exactly. Then what? So Anthony, answer the question.
So you're saying there's solid frozen gas in the balloon?
In theory,
what the
there's
hell
the
are you
absolute
saying?
zero
I don't.
point. In theory, there's the absolute 0 point where molecules no longer
I don't
move.
have to answer this for smaller. What's happening to the gases inside? You can see it here on screen. What's happening? To ask yourself, what's happened to the gases?
I'll tell you.
In size because they're freezing.
They're slowed down. Their energy's
you know
decreased.
what North Kelvin is?
Their energy's decreased and the container's reduced, and the effect of the two happening synchronously, whatever the word is. You keep taking it off screen every time I talk about stuff, Spurs. It's really annoying.
Sorry.
Thanks. Yeah. So
Go ahead.
it's decreasing the energy of the gas inside the balloon, and proportionally the balloon itself is also contracting due to a temperature difference. And therefore the overall result is the balloon decreases in size as the energy of the gas decreases due to its temperature reducing. Again, pressure and temperature being intrinsically linked.
Entropy.
No, again, there is no outside pressure affecting these balloons. The only in fact, now these balloons are in this state, there's zero pressure. If you were to take a gauge and try to measure how much pressure is inside this balloon, your reading would be zero.
No, it
right?
wouldn't. No, Spurs.
Let's have a look at this. As you take the balloon out, now you could take a pressure reading, right? A real pressure reading from here, and it would tell you how much pressure. Because
okay,
again,
let me ask you something, Spurs. What's causing the balloons to shrink?
The temperature.
I know.
Really? Why is it just? Why is it just temperature?
Just temperature, yeah.
Why would temperature cause them to shrink? Just temperature.
Because temperature has a pulling effect, a pulling force.
Oh, really? Temperature citation needed.
Temperature pulls them?
What?
Citation needed.
Learn something new every
No,
day.
to be honest, to be fair to Spurs, if the independent variable is the presumed cause and the thing that is being changed here is temperature, why would Spurs' claim that it's only temperature be wrong?
That's all we can manipulate. Now, look, let me finish here.
Shut up. Hang on.
Oh,
hang on. I was asking Nathan.
Okay.
It's not his independent variable. There is other things at play.
Like what?
Like what? You're going to say green fairies like Rumpus? No, thank you. I'm only interested in what I can see and what I can observe.
How about the opposing atmospheric pressure?
Yeah, the actual pressure itself that's been reduced.
Yeah, but the temperature was the cause, though, wasn't it? And the
Well, that's
Hang
why
on,
we
hang on.
don't. That's why we don't study this kind of man-made crap as opposed to natural phenomena.
Yeah, it doesn't change the fact that he's changed the temperature and there has been a reduction in volume, which is represented by the pressure outside pushing it in.
There
right?
is. What's the natural phenomena that we're
Temperature
observing?
does have influence.
What's the natural phenomena we're observing?
Well,
Like the
objects
quantum
expand and
eraser
contract.
experiment?
The ocean waters expand and contract with heat.
What the fuck? Where's the ocean waters? I see some liquid nitrogen and some balloons.
The observed phenomena is that objects change their volumes by virtue of temperature. That's a legitimate phenomena.
Say that again, sorry.
Yeah, in nature they do.
Yeah, so we already established that temperature has an influence on pressure in general. So
Yeah, but the observed
how does
phenomena
that
is
take
not
away
pressure.
The concept of
Hang on. The observed phenomena is not pressure. The observed phenomena is that that we do see a change in volume with temperature.
Yes.
So what's the next question, Nathan?
Well, here's the thing about that, Anthony, though. Here's the
Hold on.
catch.
To be fair, let Nathan answer this because this has to be sorted out and this has to be resolved. You know, honestly.
You start.
It's
That's
a good point. I didn't get to hear the
We need
answer.
to
I
know
still didn't
why
know the
it's
answer. What's the observed natural phenomena? What's step one?
What is the
The
observed
observed natural
phenomenon in the
phenomena is
quantum
objects-
eraser experiment? What is the
Not
observed
again.
natural
Not getting an
phenomenon in the
answer. Just
quantum
5
eraser
people talking.
experiment?
Hang
That's
on.
5 people talking at once. I'll just try once more.
Diffraction, like we told you 5,000 times. You clown.
So temperature and so same thing here. You clown. It's the same thing here.
Really? There's diffraction here. Show us.
No, you just use one word. You just use one more word to dismiss.
The point's being obfuscated. Can we stick to just this
Right,
one
Nathan,
point?
I answered it before. I'll answer it again. The observed natural phenomena is that objects appear to change their size as a function of temperature. That's the observed phenomena.
That's not the case.
It is. Water will change its volume by 4% with heat.
So you're saying the observed phenomena is water will change its volume with heat.
The observed phenomena is that objects appear to change their size or their volume with their as a function of temperature. We see that with metals, we see it with fluids, we see it
And
with
wood?
gases.
What about water?
But remember,
does it as well?
water actually
What about
expands
water?
with.
I tried to get that. I tried to get that. I got
That's
a
what I
different
said.
claim. So water, you said, changes its
Yeah.
volume by 4% with temperature.
Yeah.
Increased.
Yeah,
Yes.
lower?
Water increases its volume by 4%
Yeah,
with temperature.
Yeah, unless it reaches freezing temperature and then
Oh
actually
God! I
expand
just want
again.
2 people at once, not 4. If you hear someone else talking, does that trigger everybody to start talking also?
Usually, yeah.
So Nathan, do you agree I've answered the question or would you like to re-ask it?
So the natural phenomena is water increases volume with temperature.
Correct.
Increases.
Correct. And it reduces its volume with a decrease in temperature. Same as metals and gases.
That's not uniform
No,
though.
it doesn't. Water expands.
The phenomena is there
Ice
is a change in
expands.
volume as a function of temperature. But sunlight causes
Ice
it. The sun.
gets bigger, Anthony.
That's the same
It
thing as
doesn't
changing with
reduce its
temperature.
Oh God!
Whether it gets bigger
Oh
or
my
smaller,
God!
doesn't matter.
I'll try once more. If you hear someone else talking, don't start a sentence.
Unless you're really, really loud.
Like QE.
Oh goodness.
So okay, so you've got it increasing in temperature with heat, and according to you, decreasing with a reduction of heat.
Yeah, as the temperature rises, the volume of water will increase. As the temperature decreases, the volume of water will decrease. That is a legitimate observed phenomenon.
Yeah, until it freezes.
Oh
and then it
my
suddenly increases
Jesus
again.
wept,
Why are you
Darwin.
doing this, Arwin? What is wrong with you?
Yeah, that's you too, Spurs. Go ahead, John. Please, can you try? Let's. We're not going to get it concisely. Clearly, we're dealing with people who are retarded and don't want this to be concise, even though it's the most simplistic thing on earth. Go ahead, QE. Try once more. So we've got. I'll just summarise again for the 3rd time. Anthony's stating that water will increase as you increase the temperature, decrease as you decrease the temperature. So we're going to decrease the temperature of that water. We've got down to 0 degrees centigrade. We're now at -1, -2, -3. And it's decreasing in size, Anthony?
Increase. We've been through this several
times. Oh, my bad.
Increase.
You're Anthony, aren't you? For the love of Christ, shut up!
Right, I did say water, Nathan. I didn't say ice, not water in its solid state. I said water.
Water's got 3 states. It's got 3 states. Different states depending on temperature. And depending on the material we talk about, Anthony, they're varying all over those temperature scales.
That's right.
So we're going to have phase changes for all of them. Varying
the observed
temperatures.
phenomena is that water will change its volume as a function of temperature. That is a legitimate phenomenon.
Excellent, excellent. So where's the water on screen?
Well, that's not what we're looking at, is it?
Oh, excellent. That would be my point at the beginning of this little diatribe.
Okay, so but I did also say that gases and metals perform the same task at the same as a function of temperature.
What's this wriggling? So when
I'm
I
not
said
wiggling.
this
If you're going to relate it to this, I
scientific-
would say that gases also reduce and expand as a function of temperature too.
Yeah, but as I've just pointed out, we've got an inverse of that happening when you go through a phase change in that particular material, water.
Yeah, but I'm not on about water in its solid state. I'm on about water in its liquid state.
Water's water. It has phase changes, and I've just said this happens with all materials at varying temperatures. It's not consistent to one temperature, and the inverse in this instance happens below a certain temperature. Now, if you're going to talk about, well, let's call it steel. Well, is that going to happen at 0? No. So, no, it doesn't apply across all things. This is not applicable, and the example being given by Spurs is definitely not scientifically validated. Step 1, the observed phenomena in this instance falls apart on its arse because it doesn't follow that law when it goes through a phase change.
But you don't know it's phase changing, and it
Because
does follow
when it
that
goes
law.
through a
It is
phase,
contracting
it's
as a
something
function
else.
of temperature.
Do you want to try
Did you hear what I
that
said,
again,
Nathan?
Anthony? Try again.
That's impossible. It has to go.
Arwin, shush. Wait, Arwin. You don't know that this is phase changing because it's probably not down to the point where it is phase changing. But it's not about phase changing. The observed phenomena is that gases appear to change their volume. In this instance, gases appear to change their volume as a function of temperature.
No.
Yeah, okay. But I would accept that.
Okay. But that was what you asked right at the beginning. What's the observed phenomena? Well, there is a legitimate observed phenomena. The volume of gases, liquids, and fluids and solids does change as a function of temperature.
I will make a claim here, or at least a statement. In both the other balloon example and this balloon on screen, for the volume to be reduced, there has to be an outside force on the container to reduce its volume.
I think that's what Spurs is questioning. Where is the force?
It's the outside pressure that's reducing
It's
the
called
volume.
gas pressure.
But why could it not be the cause being the temperature reducing the volume of the gas pressure inside the balloon?
Temperature, define temperature.
Hold on. So
The temperature change is the cause of the pressure change,
we're
not the
getting
cause
somewhere.
of pressure in general.
Finally getting somewhere. Let's see what temperature is. What's temperature?
Scalar.
It's
Of
temperature
what?
change. It's
Of
the
what?
change that does it.
What we're looking
temperature?
for-
Temperature
what we're
is a
looking for
man-made
definition of
construct that
temperature
we
to
use
see
to
if that
identify
definition of temp-
states.
What we're looking for is a definition of temperature to see if the definition has anything that would coincide with what you're describing in terms of, well, let's be honest, Boyle's law, gas law. But there we go. We'll just see if temperature describes that when you define it.
So you want a definition of temperature?
Yes, please.
What if
Okay,
this
definition
whole
of
contraption
temperature.
was done? This whole contraption was done inside a small vacuum chamber to get rid of the air that's pressing on it.
Yeah, you run along and find that, Anon. Thank you very much for your input.
Temperature is defined as the degree or intensity of heat present in a substance or object, especially as expressed according to a comparative scale and shown by a thermometer or perceived by touch.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
Interesting.
wow, so it's heat.
Yeah, and this is
Post
cold.
that citation on screen.
You don't believe me? I just read it.
No, it's good. It's a good citation. We'd like to see.
What's my next question is what's heat?
Oh, for goodness sakes.
What's and? What's the definition of and?
Everybody
This is
listen
where
up.
we get
We're
into
finally
rumpus.
making
We get into rumpus
progress.
land.
We're getting somewhere. Just listen up.
Is there anybody
Degree or
that disagrees with
intensity of
this?
Yeah. Do you want me to read it, or you can read it again if you like, Anthony?
I'll read it again. The degree or intensity of heat present in a substance or object, especially as expressed according to a comparative scale and shown by a thermometer or perceived by touch. So it's basically the amount of heat present in a substance.
What's heat?
Heat. The quality of it being hot.
What's hot? What's hot?
Oh, no.
I already do we need to do this? Having a high degree of heat or high temperature?
This is they're getting into their rumpus territory, so they have to ask you to
No.
Oh,
we'll have to deal with you a little bit later, and you shut your pie hole.
Hold on, there's an
The
assertion
moment
of
when the
containment.
rumpusing starts is when you start rumpusing.
Look, what's happening is Boyle's law is being equivocated with temperature change, and they're not the same thing.
Can I?
And now we're
Can I
looking for
add
the.
something?
Now we're looking at the definitions of what temperature is and what it does, and does it conform with these amazing assertions made by Spurs? No.
No, of course not, because that's the mainstream understanding. We're trying to move away from what the mainstream understanding.
No worries. Hold on. No worries. No worries. Let's have Spurs' definition of heat
No, it's
or
not my
temperature.
again.
I'm not allowed to ask the end of it. I'm not allowed to get the
produce
ending.
the schema
Let's hear
dictionary?
Spurs' definition then. What do
Not my
you
definition,
believe?
it's what-
Let's try a fourth time. What do you define temperature as, Spurs?
No, I agree with the definitions there. What was read, and that's
do,
what we
okay.
what we can observe
Hyperphysics.
happening. We see a temperature change, and we see an effect happening. So we know the cause of the effect. Science. End of subject. Anything after that is just.
Can
your
I add
first-
something, Spurs?
No, you
The-
can't, because
the
that definition,
balloon-
I got a definition of temperature from hyperphysics. It says one has to be careful when defining temperature, not to confuse it with heat. Heat is a form of energy. Temperature is something different. So you still agree with that?
No, I like what Anthony said about what we can feel, and we know whether it's hot or cold.
Say good night.
Yeah, we know the difference between whether it's hot or cold, so we're able to, manipulate this hot and cold, make something hot or make
Spurs.
something cold.
Spurs, let me get this back on track a little bit.
Yeah.
It seems that your claim is that temperature causes something, and if temperature's causing the reduction in the volume of the helium balloons that we saw on the screen before, we know that temperature was the independent variable. Temperature did cause something, and there was a reduction in the volume. Is your point that the temperature caused the gas to reduce its volume, or is your claim that the temperature caused the pressure to decrease inside the balloon, regardless of the gas reducing its volume? Which is it?
The temperature outside caused the change inside the balloon.
But the temperature outside caused the what changed? Did the gas pressure change because the gas got smaller, or is it the atmospheric pressure pushing down on it that squashed it?
No, there's nothing pushing down. Again, the cold pulls. What we saw is the molecules condensing, getting smaller and smaller. So as the molecules,
I could agree with that.
Yeah, so they got smaller and smaller.
Slower.
For me, look, it's very, very simple. You have zero. You have positive, negative, push, pull, opposite, up, down. So you start at zero and you will have negative. So if it gets colder, the colder it gets. So if you could find a medium between hot and cold and have zero in between those two temperatures, you would have your perfect zero. And then if it went minus, it would be negative pressure, negative temperatures, and then plus would be positive.
Okay, so Spurs, just answer me this.
Negative pressure. You
word salad
don't
right
understand
there.
the concept.
Spurs, just answer me this. We saw temperature did something. My question is, what did the change in temperature do? Did it reduce the gas pressure, or did it increase the pressure on the outside? Relatively speaking.
Did it increase the pressure outside? No, there's no pressure outside. So again, what it did.
There's no gas pressure outside.
No,
There's gas outside, but it's not pressurized.
Yeah, thanks.
I think Spurs chemo
move on?
cognitive dissonance, the very concept of pressure out of his mind.
Yeah,
Precisely.
pressure is force.
Did you learn anything challenge over it, Jose?
No, Arwen's
Yeah, I
right.
enjoyed that.
Spurs, let me ask
Arwen's
Spurs a
right.
question.
Hold on. At a fundamental level, Spurs doesn't understand what gas is. That's the problem here.
Yep.
Well, here's something to ask Spurs. For something to happen, does there have to be a force applied?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so if cold is reducing its kinetic energy, what force is causing something to collapse?
To collapse, it's the pulling force of cold, the negative force. So again, if
There's
you
no such thing as a negative force.
that's what you've been told. But when you understand temperature, and you have to find a medium between negative and positive, right? It's just like a magnet.
Show me this negative force.
Again,
Like
if you increase a magnet's how to make a magnet
Job
stronger.
and negative force.
Well, I know you don't like this, but if to make a magnet
Job
stronger,
negative force.
make a
Spurs,
magnet
didn't you learn
stronger.
anything yesterday about our temperature versus pressure discussion? Seriously, come on.
Now you're going to
If
have
the
Santa
magnet
correct.
stronger, you have to make it colder. If you increase the heat, the magnet becomes weaker. So again, you have to find a medium between hot and cold to have the negative pressure that we're looking for.
Okay.
So,
Okay. No worries. Good question, Spurs.
Yeah,
So
it happens as soon as it gets cold. That's negative.
Spurs. So, in my vacuum cleaner example, is that example having a temperature change?
Yeah, obviously it's cold at the head and it's warm at the back.
No.
Yeah.
The motor gets really hot.
At the back, yeah. But if you put your hands near where it's sucking in, if you put your hand, if you put your hand, hold on, sorry, what last point quickly answer. If you put your hand in where the air's sucking in, it's cold.
Spurs, let me try and help you a little bit, because it appears to me that what you're doing is struggling with your phraseology to get your point across, which I struggled when I was trying to argue about relative density, but people get it now.
Yeah.
It seems that temperature did cause something. The issue that we're asking you to explain is, what do you think that the temperature's done? And it has to be either it's reduced the volume of the gas, or it's increased the pressure pushing down on it, or both. Or just tell us, what do you think has happened by changing the temperature?
Right. So let me show my screen then. Let's see. Screen.
I'm trying to help you here. I'm not trying to attack.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to.
It is quite complex. So again, people have the idea that pressure is on the outside. So, so we've got this pressure on the inside of this balloon, right? It was already in there. So when it enters into this, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a realm of cold, in this bowl, only in this area here. That's why he has to push it down, because it's still warmer at the top. But down here, it's like a realm of cold. So everything in this area is being pulled just in this area here, just above the water. There is a
define cold.
There is a
define cold.
Yeah, but it's the opposite of hot. So.
Oh.
No. That's not a definition.
Yeah,
you gotta define cold.
It's a perfect definition.
Let him finish. What's hot?
You have positive, you have negative. So outside here is positive temperature, warm. In here we have a negative temperature, which is cold. So if you enter into this zone, again, now you're asking me to explain what's happening inside the balloon, but we can see that everything is being pulled towards its center for some reason. We can see that. That's what we observe. Now, obviously, we'd have to take off.
Hot always flows to cold, doesn't it?
Sorry?
Hot always flows to cold, doesn't it?
It's not that it flows, it's that.
Yeah, but I mean, so what you're saying, cold sucks the hot, pulls the hot.
No, so this area, look, there's cold here. This cold is pulling this warm, it's not being pushed into
here.
I
get what you're saying.
This area is pulling this warm area, but what will happen is, because it pulls the warm area, it will make this area warm. It warms it up.
Are you saying that the gas contracts?
Yes, that's what it says. It contracts and expands. Absolutely.
I agree with that.
But you're asking me what's going on inside here. And Nathan said it's invisible. So if you can't see the particle that's
No, what? Spurs, forgive me. What I'm just trying to get you to tell us what you're trying to explain, so that we can try and help you with the words and the phraseology, because you're mashing it up, and we're all confused.
Yeah, I
And we're
know.
all...
David is pretty good at it, but like I say, it is quite complicated because you've got the idea that this is pushing down. If we know warm air goes up, how can this all of a sudden just change direction and then start pushing here? Right? This
What
is
the
now
hell?
you've created an air.
What is his claim?
Look, it's
Are you saying it's
claiming
more
that
of
the
a
gas is
magnetic
contracting
thing?
as a function of temperature?
What is his overall claim?
There is no atmospheric pressure. There's nothing pressing
Thank
down.
you. Have a great day.
Yeah, there was nothing pressing down on these balloons right now. We can see we can see the press right now as it goes in. There is a press. What is that press? You're saying the atmosphere is pressing it. But if that were the case, why didn't it press it here? But you take it into a colder temperature and the press, you're saying, or magically a press is beginning to happen. Look, now
I can see what he's saying. What he's saying is that the temperature reduction contracts the gas, but it's not the atmosphere pushing down on it. It's the contraction of the gas that reduces its volume.
The only way you can actually verify this,
Don't forget differential pressure.
is to
It's
put
kind
the
of
thing
important here.
inside a vacuum chamber. That's the only way. There's no. Then you remove the outside 14.7 psi, and then you can determine if it's actually the outside pressure pushing it in, or is it the gas contracting from the inside. That's it.
Well,
Yeah,
his
when it goes in
claim
the
is,
vacuum chamber,
his
it
claim is
increases
there's
its
no
gas.
atmospheric pressure. Why are you even talking to him? Is my question.
I'm just trying to understand
Because
his claim.
some of us are interested.
Okay.
It is interesting.
Yeah, this
To be
world
fair,
doesn't just
I got
have
laughed
some.
at when I...
Conspiracy Cats is right when it comes to pressure. The only pressure here is inside of this balloon. You remove the balloon, you pop the balloon. Once you pop the balloon, when it's like this, if you watch this green balloon, once this is popped, there's no more. Where's the pressure now? Where's the pressure? The gas has now been
It's
released.
equalised with the pressure that's on the outside.
Spurs, is the fact that gas is invisible, is that what's bothering you? I mean,
But it's not invisible. Look, we can see it disperse. We can see the gas disperse out of this green balloon. Look.
No, you can't. You can see the volume increase, but you can't see the gas.
Well, what disperses out of the balloon when it breaks? Watch this green balloon. Look. It's a shame I can't play it. So all of this stuff here that's just flung out.
That's immediately evaporating because it's boiling off, isn't it?
As Nathan said, it's just equalizing the pressure. So what's the point? This pressure's still outside of that
Slow
balloon.
it down to the
I'm
moment.
with Zanuck. I don't understand the point.
You seem to not understand that there's pressure outside of that balloon.
4.7 of atmospheric pressure pushing down on this gas, it would have pushed it back into the balloon.
But the balloon is not a... It's open, man. How's it going to do
Why did I
that?
spend an hour with you yesterday on this topic? If you didn't,
If I put my
take the time to listen
if
to
I
what we
were
talked
to
about.
put my hand or a book over this balloon, the gas wouldn't go up. There'd be real pressure on it. You're saying there's
No,
a
that's
pressure
not-
on this balloon right now, but the gas still goes up. How is it still going up? There's a pressure like my hand on the balloon.
It's warming up.
It's less dense, it goes up.
No, it's warming up. So the liquid nitrogen or whatever it was is evaporating off and no longer reducing the temperature. So it's returning to ambient temperature. As it does, the energy in the gas that's inside the balloons increases. And then as it does so, it's going to force itself out in comparison to the pressure that's at normal atmospheric pressure, therefore giving you a nice big plump balloon.
Yeah, but the gas that's coming out of here weighs less than all of the atmosphere around it. All of this atmosphere is pushing down on this gas. This weighs more, this weighs less. If I had a scale and put this gas on the scale and all of the atmosphere on the scale would go doing on this side because it's heavier. So how is this gas going up?
You don't measure gas with a scale.
There's nothing there.
Don't weigh it.
Wait a minute,
Right? It's not being
Spurs.
measured with a scale.
So-
You're measuring the amount of force it pushes on the container. And in the case of that balloon, the one that's squashed, the green container, it's been reduced in size, and the actual energy of the gas inside is also slower.
Okay, so I want to know then. There's a force going this way. We could measure that from the balloon. A force going up, and you're saying there's a force coming down. I need to know how much force is coming down on this balloon. The gas is going up. We can read this force. Let's say, 10 newtons, 20 newtons are going up.
Wait, Spurs.
How much force is in the opposite direction? That's what we need to know. Can't answer that, can you guys?
So wait. So you're saying?
Where's my silence? Where's my moment of silence? No one can answer that, can they? Where's my minute of silence? There's a force of 10 newtons going up. How many newtons are coming down?
I'm trying to understand your point.
Newtons. If I've got a force going
His basic point is there's no atmospheric pressure.
So wait, so Spurs. So what you're saying?
Very simple, chocolate. If I've got a force going up, 10 newtons. How many newtons?
Let me try to translate. See if I'm right. So what you're saying is when this balloon burst, right? Because the atmospheric pressure outside of the balloon was more than the one inside the balloon, the pressure inside of the balloon should have stayed right there when the balloon popped, because there's so much more weight of the atmospheric pressure outside of the balloon. So there should be a little pocket of air just sitting there.
There is no outside atmospheric pressure.
No, you're right, Chocolate. You tell me now. So yes, if there's a pressure pushing this way up, you're saying there's a pressure pushing this way down. Now I could measure with a gauge, next.
But I wouldn't say it's pushing it down. It's
so
expanding in all directions. It's going all over the place.
Yeah.
So the forces on the outside are
pressure this way.
Scalar. They're scalar forces.
How much
So then when the balloon burst, this is where I'm lost. When the balloon bursts, what do you think should happen?
Right.
That's what I'm trying to find out.
I put a book over this balloon, I can weigh the book, let's say 10 kilograms. Over this book, the balloon cannot go up because there's a pressure pushing down on it, right?
Spurs, the pressure is a scalar quantity, not a vector quantity. It's all around it. The pressure is acting all around it equally. There's a differential pressure.
Someone shouting in the background.
There's a lot of noise in the background. Yeah, Zanek, I think it's you.
I'm sorry. I'm at work. I'll mute.
But the idea is there's pressure pushing down. I want you to tell me.
It's not pushing down. It's scalar. It's all around it.
Yeah. How would you measure that? I could measure the pressure coming out of the balloon.
You can measure the pressure all around that balloon. It'll all be equal.
All I need to do is put a gauge next to the hole, and have the pressure will go, and that will give me a reading of how much pressure is pressing out of that balloon. Now, you're saying there's a pressure pushing in the opposite direction. If I put my gauge this way, why can't I read any pressure pushing?
I went to the Nathan Oakley 922 show. Where is this being broadcast so I can see your visuals?
I feel this blue.
I got it. I've got it. I understand, right? Spurs, let me ask you this. If you're saying that there's no pressure, what is it that's decreasing as we gain altitude when we climb a mountain?
Oh, God.
No, according to Spurs' temperature.
According to Spurs' temperature.
But the thing is, he's simply negating what the very concept of pressure is.
Actually,
in the first
I want to
place.
hear Spurs answer this question, though.
Oh, look, the same answer. If you can tell me the reason why this balloon decreases, and she just puts it out the wind, inside, outside, nice big fat balloon. If we can get there, nice big fat balloon inside.
Because there's no Fig Newtons hitting it. Hey, Spurs.
Oh yeah,
Jose's
it's
show
not
just started.
14.7 inside of her house. Yeah, but outside, the pressure's always there. Yeah, the pressure outside.
Jose's show just started. Go ahead and take your show over there.
Well, I'm just saying that
we got to have that little cover up going on, huh?
How do you explain?
Here we go.
No, my question was, Spurs, what is changing when you go up in elevation of a mountain?
Video decrease in size, can we? We can't just accept that when you take the balloon from the inside to the outside, it gets smaller, right? That's too hard to imagine out there, isn't it?
Because it's the pressure of the fig.
Hang on. To be fair, what Spurs is saying is that the temperature inside, the pressure inside the house and outside the house is the same, but the temperature is different.
Yeah,
Exactly.
same pressure, different temp. Thank you. Finally,
that's
you've got it.
that's
Same,
opposite what he said
supposed to be
yesterday.
the same pressure anyway, but you just see a temperature change. That means there is no pressure. The only change is temperature.
No. No,
Finally,
that's where
you've
you
got
go.
it.
I mean, if you'd never learned
Now you're
about air
asking me
pressure at all, if
the
you'd
No,
never
you're
been
just
taught
breaking everything apart and just assuming
You're asking me
something
the
out of nothing.
details of- Anthony,
Always
you're
getting
asking-
triggered.
Anthony, you're asking me the details of what's happening inside the balloon. I asked Nathan this. I asked you this. What's going on inside the container? Oh, it's doing this. It's doing that. Well, how do we know? All we know is that when we change the variable, we see an effect. Well, if you want to know what's going on, you'll have to go deeper, get your tools out, get the prongs out, get the measuring tools out, and find out exactly what is happening.
I know it is.
Are you
It's
saying
fig.
you don't agree that gas molecules just bounce all over the place? You don't agree with how gas works? Because I'm still
You
lost,
don't
man. I
agree
don't
that
know
when
what
you
you're
take the temperature of the balloon and change its temperature, that it decreases in size only because of temperature? You don't see that happening in that video where he takes it from inside the house to outside, and it shrinks with no pressure change.
Because the
There's more
temperature.
fig Newtons.
Because the temperature
Exactly.
went down.
Temperature. You got
The
it.
temperature caused the volume to
I
change.
knew I got it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's got a point though. I get it. I think what
Yeah,
he's
he
trying to
does have
say
a
is that the
point.
pressure inside the house and outside the
volume
house is the
inside the
same, but the
balloon
temperature
changed because the
changes
gas
causes the balloon to
attracts
change its volume.
temperature.
And I guarantee
If you don't follow
one
the
last point,
scientific method, then that's
one
what
last
he's
point.
done.
If you were to climb a mountain and control the temperature, you wouldn't see the balloon change.
What's temperature
That's
again?
very interesting.
No. That's not
I think it's starting to
Spurs.
click
Come
for
on.
me.
Hey.
It's not
you
that
know,
there's
this-
not
this
gas
is-
molecules.
Balloon
it's just
higher up, it'll
affecting it.
eventually blow up, just like weather balloons.
Arwin,
Just like weather balloons.
Arwin,
They're
come on,
very
look,
That's because there's
small
less
when you
fig
let them
Newtons
up.
in it, Norway.
They
Arwin,
grow
listen.
bigger and bigger
All
and
right,
bigger.
Spurs. Can I ask you a question? If you took a tank and you opened a tank up and you just put a cover over it and put a pressure gauge inside the tank and it said 0, and then you went up to 30,000 feet where the pressure is 3 psi, what do you think would happen when you opened the lid of that tank? Would that pressure gauge change? Would the air inside, there's colored gas inside that tank, by the way, too. Would that gas just sit there?
Right, sorry,
What would
say
happen
it
to that
again.
tank?
Slow it down there, Zanik, and just
Okay, I got a tank.
Why don't you just play like you got a pressure gauge on the bottom of that balloon, right?
No. You
Hold on, David. Hold on, guys.
Dave,
Let me take control.
You got
Zanik,
you got
hold
a
on.
tank.
Zanik, I'm going to summarize your
Yes.
position. You're asking Spurs if you have a tank at sea level and it's got a gauge that says 0. It's got the same type of gauge you have at a petrol station. It says 0. Then you take that up to a very high altitude where the pressure is definitely lower. Now, what's going to happen when you open the valve
Inside the tank.
on that container, having taken it up to a place that is lower pressure? What happens, Spurs? That's the question from Zanik.
Well, again, it's not lower pressure, it's lower temperature. So what will happen is those gases will freeze. If you open it up, you'll have, just like when you throw boiling water in cold temperatures.
Incorrect.
Hey, when you say freeze,
Hold on,
Spurs,
no,
what do you mean by
it's
freeze?
Zanik's point. Stop it. Hold on. Hold on.
What do you mean by
Hold on.
freeze?
Oh, Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
yeah,
Shut up. Yes, we heard you. You said it would freeze. Now I'm going to let Zanik address that absolute horse shit.
Air freezes, people don't breathe at 30,000 feet. Look, let's make it lower then, just to make a better argument. Let's say 20,000 feet or 15,000 feet. We can fly without a pressure suit, without oxygen. You got a tank, you got a cover on it at sea level. You raise that tank to 15,000 feet. And what happens to that gauge when I pop open the top cover of that tank?
Nothing.
Really?
Nothing will happen. Same. It'd be the same as being on the
Absolutely
ground.
nothing. It's just like that balloon.
I don't open. So
That's
I don't open that
Spurs.
tank.
Can I just say something real quick?
No, he's
It's
asking
just like that
Spurs.
balloon. Hold on.
He's asking
If you-
Spurs.
You hold on. Shut up,
Oh,
David.
God. So he's asked Spurs. Spurs has said incorrectly that it would freeze. Now, I'm ideally hoping that Zanik can actually give what would happen, given that you've got a higher pressure system next to a lower pressure system.
Are you asking me the question?
Yeah, you just tell us. Give the conclusions, Anik. This is your moment.
So you open the cover, and now outside has got lower pressure than the inside. The inside air evacuates very rapidly out of the tank. The gauge starts to go to negative. It goes negative to about 10 psi.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Okay. Now, it doesn't mean there's negative pressure. It just means the gauge has shown relative
No,
to the
in fact-
pressure
in fact,
it was.
no, you are right. You are right.
God, no! Let Zanik make his conclusion.
So it doesn't mean that there's negative pressure at 10,000 feet, but relative to the sea level pressure, it is lower, and it is lower by 10 psi if you're up at 20,000 feet or something. So that's
you're
the
right.
conclusion.
I agree with your model, with your understanding. This is what would happen, but
No,
in
you-
reality, with
you prove this
demonstration.
yourself.
No, I get what you're saying.
You
Yeah,
can
yeah,
see
you prove.
it's really easy. In fact, you can go in a car if you live in the
going
mountainous
by your
region.
model,
You have a bottle of water.
Hold on,
You have a
Zanik.
bottle of water. Hold on.
Zanik, you've got to let him respond now. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, Mazani, I shouldn't have said you're wrong, because how you see it in your worldview, your perspective, your global perspective is that, yeah, this is what happens if you were to take a container and open up and do these kind of things. But no, in the real world, you would find the opposite. If you were to demonstrate this and actually do this, you would be surprised at the results, right?
I've done this actually, and you can do this on anytime you fly in an airplane. You can do this. Take that bottle of water that's maybe half
They've
full.
done it before, done it, but now is the time to demonstrate.
Let me finish.
Yeah?
Hey,
What-
my turn.
what-
I'm
I'm afraid Schemo doesn't live in our model anymore now, apparently.
It's not even a
Well,
model;
we
it's
don't live in a
reality.
model. As
Come on,
Nathan always tells us,
chemo.
we don't live in a model, and he's right. We don't
You ever
live in a
fly in
model.
airplanes?
All right, where you been?
Your idea
God,
for the
He's not going to let you
You
make a
ever
second
fly
one,
in an
Zanik.
airplane? Chemo.
He's not going to let you
You
make a
ever
second
fly in an
example.
airplane? Take a water bottle next time, seal it up.
Yeah.
May drink
You
a few
can't. They
sips
take
out
it
of
away
it,
from
seal
you.
it up, and go up in the airplane and watch what that bottle does when you go to altitude where the pressure is
You
lower
can't take
inside
water
the cabin.
bottles in planes. Where you been?
True.
Can I say something?
Again, in Zanik's world,
What's wrong with you?
Happen, right? But in
Actually, you can. You just got to buy it from the airport. Relax.
Yeah, you just that's why you go through the security, then you buy the water, take a couple sips, show there's a space in the water bottle, seal it up, go on the airplane, go up to altitude, and watch what happens to the bottle.
Yeah.
How about this for an experiment? You take that balloon at the bottom of Mount Everest with that guy in his shorts that can run to the top, right? And you say, "Here, take this balloon to the top while you run up there in your shorts, and tell me what the balloon does when you get to the top." By the time he gets to the top of that Mount Everest, that balloon's going to do exactly what it's doing in that video. It's going to crinkle up, and there's not going to be any. It's going to decrease in pressure on the inside of the balloon.
Wrong
Because of
answer.
temperature.
Yeah,
Wrong
it's going to decrease maybe, but it's not going to wrinkle up because that level
No,
of temperature
temperature
that was achieved is not naturally
In
present.
order for temperature to match the pressure change, it'd have to be a huge disparity, not just the 20 or 30 or 40 degree change.
Exactly.
Okay, they don't match directly. All right, there is some relation, but it's not direct. The pressure will far outweigh the temperature, and this can be proven again by you in your car driving to some place up at a high altitude. We do it all the time. We can go from 80 degrees at sea level and 80 degrees at 6,000 feet. The pressure changed 20%. The temperature didn't change at all. Spurs, you said this was easy to address yesterday, and yet I'm still waiting for your answer.
A nice
We
story.
have a perfect example for you of what happens to a balloon due just to temperature, right? Not due to your stories of riding in the mountains, but we have an actual video of what happens with temperature where pressure can decrease without any change in altitude, right?
Right. It's called, PVNRT.
Okay.
It's a gas law.
So we all know.
You have rocks for brain.
Hold on, I
Seriously.
was almost
You have
done.
rocks for
We
brain.
all
almost
know
done.
that the higher you go, the colder it gets, right?
Not
The higher
always.
you go,
Not
the
always.
colder-
Not
Sir?
always. Hold on.
Okay, for a certain distance-
David.
Whatever,
Stop.
man.
David.
How can it get
not
warmer?
always.
Spurs, no, let Zanik just respond to David. Give him a chance.
David, we've already went over this 1,000 times. You can go to a higher elevation and still have the same temperature, yet the pressure changes by 10, 15, 20%. So what's your point?
all that is about how much humidity's in there, and it's a different change. Look, hold on. You talked. It's my turn to talk. The only reason that balloon, hold on a second.
No.
A
Not
balloon
about
will only
humidity.
change in size due to temperature, right?
No.
Did the humidity go up or down as I went up in altitude?
As it gets cold, it will decrease in size. As it gets
Did the humidity
hot,
go up or down?
it will
You mentioned
decrease in
humidity.
size.
No. Hey, back up your claim.
David,
You went
how
up
do
in
you get back
you went
in
up in
here?
altitude. What did the humidity do?
Second, I'll fix that.
Gosh,
What did
man,
the
you guys
humidity
want
do,
to
David?
What you guys got to
David,
understand,
don't
this is
jump around
something
the
that
question.
you've been
Bye
over.
now.
What did the
David, can
humidity
you
do?
stop speaking?
David, hello. What did the humidity do? I
Especially
went up
when you
from 0 sea level
demonstrate
to
your
2,000
claim.
feet. What did the humidity do? You said it was humidity. I'm asking you to back it up.
Sir, we need to see your video.
Hey, I have a simple question for you. Did it go up or did it go down?
Hey, up your claim, man. Back it up. You're making a claim.
Did
Back
it go
it up.
up or did it go down? The
We
humidity.
backed
You
up our
said
claim.
you
Where's
claimed
your
your
feedback?
words.
You haven't backed
Humidity
nothing up.
claim.
Look,
Back it up.
Zach, we have backed up our claims. We've shown demonstration after demonstration that temperature is the sole key, the only variable.
No, you have not.
If you ignore everything else, yes.
All you guys have said, go in an airplane, go to the top of Everest, go here, do that. It's like, what? Can you just show?
Look around the world around you.
Take a barometer with you.
And then you want to keep this out.
Listen,
Prove that balloons can be
Barometer. Barometer. Okay? Thanks.
Barometer, exactly.
What happens to a barometer when you stick it in a vacuum chamber?
Electrolytes.
It goes down
Yeah, why?
because of pressure.
Because you stuck it in a vacuum chamber?
Yes.
Yeah, so in a vacuum chamber, you remove all the warm air. If there's no warm
No, you can
air,
keep it.
what do you think will
Still
happen?
heat the air up if you want.
Thought you were taking
It's
out
still,
all the
you still
air.
have
But
heat
that was
in
the
there.
point
It's
of a
just not
vacuum.
fully evacuated. As you
You
lower the
haven't taken
pressure
out
in a
all the
vacuum
air, have
chamber,
you?
let's
There's
say to
still
2 or
some
3
air
psi,
in there. That's
you have
the point.
plenty of temperature.
You can't
You have
have
plenty
zero.
of
Spurs, why do I have to moderate you
There's a
so much,
thermometer
right?
and a
Hold
barometer.
on.
You still don't know the difference
Zanik,
between a thermometer and a
you're just
barometer?
as bad. Right, I just want to hear Zanik unimpeded from start to finish when he responds to you, Spurs. Please don't talk through every word of his response. Same for you, Zanik. Go ahead, Zanik.
Okay, who's got the floor? So if you have a thermometer or a barometer, first of all, you have to know the difference between the two, and I still think you don't, because barometers work differently than thermometers, and even though both might have mercury. And if you go up in altitude, to David's point, what does the humidity do? You say it's due to humidity that the pressure has gone down. That's a load of horse shit, because that doesn't happen. And you don't even know which way the humidity is going, because I asked you 7 times, and you couldn't even answer the question. So we see this every day. We see, yes, temperature can affect volume of gas due to gas law. That's true, PV-nRT. But it is not the major factor when you're looking at this balloon going up in altitude, especially if the pressure is going down without the temperature changing. And even if the temperature changed, it's not the dominant factor. The pressure is. Because pressure does not change. Pressure changes a lot more than the temperature does going up in altitude.
Thank you, Zanik. Very
So this
concise.
is how flat earthers really want to argue with, nice stories of, this and that and the other, and not actually demonstrate. Flat earthers really want to go down this route of just saying and repeating what Zanik has just said. Not one flat earther could demonstrate what Zanik has just said.
I'm losing the will to live.
Right, I'm just going to challenge that. I absolutely 100% agree with every word Zanik said. I am a flat earther. We have contrasting views on the shape of the earth. Does not change the fact that Zanik is right and you are wrong.
Zanik, why do you have atmospheric pressure? What's the reason?
Is that appeal to flat earther fallacy?
No, what's the cause? What's the cause of your atmospheric pressure? So that's what you agree with, Nathan.
Good question. Now I'm on your side again, Spurs. Good question. Do you want to repeat that,
This
Spurs?
is something that is causing the confusion that we're talking about. If we can show there is no atmospheric pressure...
No rumpusing. No rumpusing. No rumpusing. Go on,
Hold on,
Spurs.
let me finish quickly.
Repeat your question,
If we can show
Spurs.
there's no atmospheric pressure, we can show there's no gravity. If there's no gravity, there's no globe. End of subject.
That wasn't your question, but there we go.
But Zanik, why do you have atmospheric pressure?
Good question.
Oh, boy.
Good
I
question.
kind of like want to quit on a high note here. I don't.
You should have just dropped.
Gotta go.
That's
Bye.
a complex question.
Gravity question going, and
That's
obviously,
a complex question.
it's clear to see, Zanuck, you now are in trouble, right?
No, I'm not in trouble. We talk about an easy discussion and an argument with you, an easy discussion with Nathan and his team, because they understand some of the basic fundamental laws of nature that we all agree on. I think in most cases, almost everything we agree on. We don't agree on the shape of the earth. So we
Stop delaying. Stop delaying, Zanuck. How do you have atmospheric pressure? What's the cause of this pressure? How's this happening?
Tell him, Zanuck.
Yeah,
Are you asking me?
Yeah,
It's a
asking
good
you.
question. It's a good question.
So from my perspective, my understanding, it's due to a force that's acting on the gases that surround our Earth, our planet, called the atmosphere.
What's the force, though?
So
What's that
atmospheric pressure causes atmospheric pressure, is what you said.
No, I didn't say the atmospheric pressure. I said there's a
That's what his
force acting
question
on the
was.
atmosphere. Don't mince my words.
No, that's
I'm
fair
being
enough.
very
That's what
precise.
his question was.
Hold on, John. Just repeat again what you believe give rise
There's
to
a
atmospheric
force
pressure, Zanuck.
acting on the gases which are the atmosphere is comprised of, which creates pressure.
So it
Is it
is the atmospheric pressure giving rise to atmospheric pressure then.
No, I said there's a force acting on the gases which creates atmospheric pressure.
It's called gravity, right?
So what is that? So you're asking what that force is due to? Yes,
Can
the
I
force
answer?
is due
Can
to
I answer
gravity.
for Zanuck?
No,
Yes.
let Zanuck answer.
Force is due to gravity. I'll say
Everyone
it.
shut up.
I'll
I
say
want to
it
hear
in-
Zanuck.
Yes. The force
Yeah,
is
say it
due to
again. Say it
gravity.
again. Say gravity.
The
Say it with
force
your
is due
chest.
to gravity.
It's the force due to
This
gravity.
force-
Oh, really? What's
This
gravity?
force is caused by gravity. Yes.
Okay, so that's a big problem, Zanuck, because gravity is the bending of a conceptual medium known as space-time, and it gives rise to no force.
So we're talking about a comparison of Einsteinian relativity and Newtonian mechanics. You want to go down that route, really?
No, 100
You
years
understand
old, mate. That's
that
been
replaced-
smashed into the middle of next week. It's for some reason headline news at the moment in amongst the tabloids and
Yep.
trash. But
It's
there we go.
still getting smashed today.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a 100-year-old
so when we had
argument, Zanuck.
so back in the old days when we had rulers, that was a good way of measuring things. And then suddenly someone came up with an electron microscope. Of course, I'm trivializing this. And the electron microscope is much more accurate at seeing things and measuring
That's
things.
nice.
But
So
What does that have to do with gravity?
So
Hold on,
that's nice.
doesn't make
That's
the ruler
lovely.
less- doesn't make
What's
the ruler any
gravity then,
less
Zanuck?
relevant.
Zanuck.
Particle. It's a particle.
Zanuck. So far in the
ruler is
argument,
right?
Graviton.
God, of course, rumpusing indefinitely ensues because Zanuck's bent over the barrel. So Zanuck, you've asserted a force of gravity, and I've said, what's gravity? And it's not a force. So what force?
The force is an attraction. It's caused by gravity. And you're saying it's bending of space-time. I say it's mass attracting mass. However you want to look at it, it still works. It still
Is there
exists.
scientific evidence?
That's
Not a
super
force, though.
specific.
Oh,
Yes.
What's causing gas pressure if gravity's not a force?
Gravity is not a force. Gravity causes a force.
no, it doesn't.
What's
you can't
causing
give
gas
rise to a
pressure?
force with
Hold
a
on, sorry, guys.
non-force.
Can I just ask Zanuck?
I don't know. I've addressed this already, and I'm just going to repeat myself. Right. Gravity, Zanuck, is the bending of a, this is the important word, conceptual medium. And bending said conceptual medium gives rise to no force. Okay.
And what are you saying right there?
That you don't have a force. You're saying a force, you've said the name of the force, then I've taken my pants down and taken a big poo on that idea because it's not a force. It's the bending of a conceptual medium. I'll say it for a third time because you're slow and you don't understand that your incorrect assertion won't fly here. We'll correct your incorrect assertion, which is to say that your fundamentalist belief in a force holding atmosphere that gives rise to atmospheric pressure is incorrect, because the force you have named, in this instance gravity, is the bending of a conceptual conceptual medium and gives rise to no force.
If you look at it from an Einsteinian perspective, that can be true.
What's the geometry called? Yeah, okay, we'll do that, Zanik. We'll look at it from an Einstein. We'll do that. We'll do that. We'll look at it from an Einsteinian perspective. What's his geometry called for this perspective that we're looking at with Einsteinian eyes? What's it called?
Can we go to Newtonian? Can we stay Newtonian?
No.
What's
Why not?
the geometry? I've
Newtonian
asked a
works.
question and you're just talking through it and ignoring it. So for the audience's benefit, what, when looking through it with Einsteinian eyes, is the geometry we are describing with said Einsteinian eyes? Zanik. We're looking for the name of the geometry.
Did I get it right? Sounds like a country in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, Arwen, but shut up.
Time's up. You were looking for
What is Euclidean
pseudo-Ramonian force space. The key bit being pseudo. Do you know
And
what
force space.
pseudo means when looking at it in geometry described by Einstein as pseudo-Ramonian force space? Do you know what
Yes. Can I
pseudo
explain it to
means,
you?
Zanik?
Can I explain? So
It's a
you
very
think
clear
a
question.
pseudo force is not a real force?
Oh, so not a force, Zanik. So my original question will now get re-asked. What is this force you describe where the atmospheric pressure gives rise to atmospheric pressure? When it's definitely not the gravity force you've named, because as you correctly agree, it's not a force.
Why is it not a force? Just you think pseudo force is not a force?
Definitely not a force. I asked you what pseudo meant and you didn't answer
heard-
now,
can I
did
quote
you,
you
Zanik?
on that?
So I'll
Can I
ask
quote-
again. What
Can I quote you on that?
I'll ask again, unimpeded, hopefully. Let's see if the fundy obfuscates my question again. What does pseudo mean, Zanik?
In scientific terminologies, pseudo force does not mean what you think it means.
And
It
what
actually
does it
means
mean?
real force.
You didn't
Zanik.
answer his
It actually
question.
means real
Answer his
force. In
question.
science-
So, the fundy did obfuscate my question by telling me what I think it doesn't mean. So I'll ask my question again. What does pseudo mean, Zanik?
Pseudo means, in the dictionary, fake, not real.
Excellent. So we've got a fake, not real force. No, it doesn't hold anything, Zanik. It's fake and not real. You utter moron.
No, you asked me what pseudo means. You didn't say what pseudo force.
Yeah, the geometry for the force that you're describing giving rise to a force when looking through Einsteinian eyes is pseudo-Ramonian force space. Not real. A conceptual medium being bent to give rise to no force.
Yeah, and pseudo force has nothing to do with it.
Pseudo means fake. Right?
Yeah, so we've got a fake force holding the atmosphere on, have we? No, fake forces don't hold the atmosphere on, you bonehead.
No, pseudo force is real.
It's not part of the equation.
No.
Zanik, if pseudo force was real, why would they put the word pseudo in it if pseudo means fake?
That's the great
Yeah, just use a
question. I'm
different
so
name.
glad you asked it. It is like as far as our conversation goes, that's the dumbest thing science ever could have done. But they did it, and it's not my fault.
Science doesn't. That's a reification fallacy. Science doesn't do anything.
No.
Science didn't do anything.
That's correct.
So
Science
do you think
didn't do anything.
even if you think science did something that was stupid, should you just defend it?
He told us who did it. Einstein did it.
Yeah,
it wasn't
I know, John, but
it wasn't
I'm
science
using
doing
his
it.
words.
I just want to get that
I
in
know.
as well
Did
because it was
science wear a
rumpus. I'm
backwards
not going to
hat?
get the chance though.
Yeah, you're not going to get it out.
Yeah,
Everyone's
it wasn't
rumpus.
science that did it. You named the person and told us to look through their eyes, and I did, and named the geometry that he used. Not science. A man who has reified a concept that gives rise to no force to hold the atmosphere on. We're still at that question. What's this force you're saying, Zanik?
Are real. Pseudo forces are real. You can't accept that?
No, they're not real. Fake, not actual. You just define them, you double-speaking fundy.
Math would work.
But didn't you just say that it's something you don't agree that they did? And now you're doubling down.
No, he said he didn't agree with them defining it as pseudo, but they did it science incorrectly. It wasn't. It was Einstein. But now he's saying that pseudo's real.
How do you define pseudo? What's the word of pseudo in German or in French?
Wow. I know. If I looked for a similar word in Swahili.
A lot of words.
In Australian, it's bullshit.
A lot of words have different meanings. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, in Australian, it's bullshit. Somebody just said.
Yeah,
Australian, it's bullshit.
You see, when you pressurize the can, is that force that pressurized the can a real force or a pseudo force?
A real force.
Hello, to Zanik, is that a pseudo force or a real force?
It's a real force.
So you have a real force that is pressurizing the gas, yeah?
Correct.
Why is it not a pseudo force? Why can't I not say it's a pseudo force?
Not a pseudo force.
Why? What's the difference between the force that you're describing and the force that's pressurizing the can? So one is a real force, one is a pseudo. Why are they not the same, but either both pseudo or both real?
Because a pseudo force depends, this is the key word, on the frame of reference. Can you?
Oh, that's useful because the frame of reference in this example, the frame of reference is conceptual. Space-time would be the frame of reference, and space-time is conceptual only.
I can't even finish my definition. A real force.
Just smash that into the middle of next week. No acknowledgement. Total hand wave dismissal. I love it. Fundies crack me up.
A real force does not depend on a frame of reference. A pseudo force absolutely depends on a frame of reference. Does that make sense?
Right. And gravitational force is the bending of a conceptual medium. As I've said now, probably about 8 times, I believe. It just doesn't get acknowledged by any fundies, though.
I'd like to point out that I just Googled pseudo force and it redirected me to fictitious force.
Right. Oh, yeah. And by the way, in French and German, pseudo is the same word.
Right, Zanik. If
what about Dutch?
Zanik.
What
If
Swahili?
Hey, Arwen, what about Dutch?
What about Swahili?
Swahili? No, that's mine. That's mine. I want to know what it is in Dutch. What's it mean?
Zanik, if this force to you is if this
Spurs, there's a question on the table. What does pseudo mean in Dutch?
Go ahead, Spurs.
It means pseudo.
It means the same.
Same.
Yeah.
I'm saying if this pseudo force is a real force to you, why can't you pressurize a gas can with this real force to you?
With the pseudo force of gravity, why can't you pressurize the can with the pseudo force?
I'm saying for Zanik, if this pseudo force is real to him, then can he pressurize the can?
I can create pressure. Hold on. I can create a pseudo force with create pressure. Sure.
Yeah, but can you pressurize gas?
Hold on. Let me just get. Hold on, Zanik.
Yes,
Spurs.
I can.
Hold on.
Yes, I can.
Yes, you can. What?
All I need is a simple
yes, you can. What? Yes, what can you?
A centrifuge. A centrifuge and a can. Hold on. A centrifuge and a can with it open to the center will create pressure in the can as I spin it. That's a pseudo force creating pressure. There's your answer. Bingo.
No, the centrifuge.
Mic drop.
Sorry, the centrifuge is
Then
actually.
do it with gravity, not.
Sorry, the centrifuge does actually create a force, though, doesn't it?
No,
my rebuttal's not going to get heard, clearly.
I use the pseudo force.
Zanik, the centrifuge creates an actual force, though, doesn't it?
No.
No, it's not spinning.
No, it doesn't, actually.
It's not spinning. It's not having a motor. It's not taking energy to create the force.
Centrifugal force is a pseudo force. Hold on. Centrifugal force is a pseudo force.
I said the centrifuge, didn't I?
A centrifuge. Yes.
Yeah, that's creating an actual force, isn't it?
Pseudo force. Sorry, no.
It's not creating. You're saying a centrifuge spinning creates no actual force? Really?
Well, the actual force is a centripetal force. Do you know the difference between a centripetal force and a centrifugal force?
So it's an actual force then?
Centripetal force is actual. Centrifugal is...
Right, well, we're talking about examples of fictitious forces, Zanuck. It seems that you're equivocating between an actual force and what you were asked for, which was a fictitious force doing something. And it seems like you're definitely equivocating here, my friend.
No,
Yeah, it seems like the fictitious force is the side effect of an actual force.
Yeah, that's right, Arwin.
Actual force.
Well said.
Coriolis is a
Zanuck,
fictitious
we need
force.
this fictitious force to pressurize gas because you say
Yes.
it's real. It's a real force, so this force can do something.
Relative to you in that merry-go-round or that centrifuge, that force is very real, and even though it is a pseudo force, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, real,
fine.
real. That's the problem. Real.
Spinning hot tubs and the torpedoes.
Yeah, real force, Zanuck. Yeah, that's right, real. We're looking for fictitious. You're not listening to what Spurs is asking for. You're giving him the opposite. You're giving him real forces.
Creating the pressure is a pseudo force. Centrifugal force is a pseudo force, a fictitious force.
Yeah, and a side effect of an actual force.
The actual force is centripetal force. That's the can.
Okay, that's fine. No, that's fine. No, that's fine. This is an equivalence.
Can acting on the air.
Okay,
is
Zanuck. Okay, fine. So, in the case of gravity, what's the actual force? What's the actual mechanism that gives rise to this not actual force?
Mass attracting mass.
The mass doesn't attract mass. That's Newtonian. It was debunked. We went through this earlier. 100 years old, mate.
Not
Currently
debunked.
headline news.
Added
Don't
to.
rumpus me when I reply with the same thing I said last time. Currently headline news. About 100 years out of date. No. We're definitely not using Reverend John Mitchell / Cavendish gravity.
Because... What's that?
Mass not attracting mass.
Mass attracting mass was Newtonian.
Yeah, and that's...
No, that's Reverend John Mitchell and
Yeah,
Cavendish.
yeah. But no, that's not what we're talking about. That's 100 years out of date. For some reason, currently headline news, but you keep whistling past the fact that the current rhetoric is not that.
Pseudo, but real. It's not the current rhetoric.
No, not pseudo but real. That's not what pseudo means. Pseudo.
It's white but black.
No, again, I have to kind of beg the question with him. Hey,
Zanuck,
it's the real force. You use the word real.
You already
Zanuck.
talked about
Cavendish
centrifugal
is
force
a
being
pseudo attraction, right? Pseudo
Zanuck,
attraction of mass.
If it's a real force, Zanuck, let's go with you. It's a real force.
No,
to
we're
you.
not going with them.
No, but how do we
It's a real
apply
force depending on your frame of reference.
gas?
In a
Zanuck.
non-inertial frame of reference, it's a real force.
Oh, what about space-time?
real force,
What
okay,
about
if it's a real
space-time?
force.
Is that a real frame of reference, or is it a conceptual medium? That's the thing I need clarity on. So, what's space-time?
With space-time?
Yeah, what's that? Is it a conceptual medium or an actual?
He said it's a fabric. So fabrics have chemical formula, structure, charge, mass, momentum, or spin, or energy, millielectron volts, kcals, or kilojoules. So give that to us with a piece of space-time.
A brocade is just a orientation of
Brocade.
matter, of
That's a new word.
substance, and whatever.
Hold on, that's a new
Item.
word. What was that word? Brocade.
A brocade.
I don't know that word. What's that mean?
I don't know. They make network equipment. That's all I know. It's a company.
What does that word mean,
Not
Zanuck?
anymore. They broke up into 3 different companies, and now they're just a nothing.
Oh, it's
now.
a brand.
Brocade broke.
It's a brand. Okay.
Brocade. No, brocade is a brand that uses the word called brocade, which is a fabric.
Okay, and they use
A-
physical things to make
brocade is
fabric.
Hold on, John. Sorry.
Way
Say again,
of
Zanuck.
weaving
A brocade is a fabric.
Yes,
It's a weave of fabric.
exactly.
Okay, and it has chemical formula or structure, right?
Yep.
Theoretically,
So
What do you mean
okay, so give
theoretically?
that
So
to
it's
us.
not space
Oh
time.
God. What do you mean theoretically? Either it has
Well, that's-
chemical form, structure, mass, momentum, or
Well,
spin, or
space-time-
not.
I'm not going to espouse to know the intricacies
It's
of
funny.
space
It's funny that you would call something you just called a real fabric.
The intricacies.
You just call it a real fabric, and then you say it's theoretical.
No, he said he's not.
It sounds
said
like you're
thousands
an
of
emperor's
years.
tailor.
Theoretically real.
Just get this back on track.
It's real in theory.
Really?
He's just
Oh
joking.
my
He
God.
knows he's conceded here, and I think this is a guy who just really finding it difficult to accept that Newton is not a thing, and you know he needs.
No.
He's just
No,
arguing
I
for the
think
sake of
Einstein, look,
arguing.
I don't know enough about Einsteinian physics to have an argument with you about it. All I know is Newtonian works, and Einsteinian is an extension of it. Doesn't replace
Newtonian
it.
work.
It just
Where does
makes it better.
Newtonian work?
It makes it more accurate.
Supersede. What does supersede mean?
Supersede?
I would like
supersede
to
anything.
order a coat
It
made
didn't
of the
supersede
fabric
it.
of space.
It added to
does
it. It
supersede
complements.
mean?
Me too. Yes, please. I'll have one of those coats, Arwin.
Not
Made of the fabric of space time.
Did the electron microscope? Hey, did the electron
Microscope?
That's not what I'm asking.
Microscope.
What is the word?
Electron microsode.
Hey,
Is that a small bar? Or
Hold
something?
on.
did
Hold
the
on.
electron
Hold
microscope?
on. Hold on. There's another new word. Sorry, I just
No,
need.
no,
Look,
it
I've got a
didn't.
new
It
word. There's a
complemented.
new word. I want to just get clarity on what the new word is. What's an electron microsode?
It's a microscope that looks at things through electronics
A
rather than
microscope.
visual optics.
Oh, I see. And we can see
And
the
so did
fabric
that
of space
supersede the
time.
ruler? Did that supersede the ruler? No, it
Nobody
added
said
to.
it did, but
Okay.
somebody did say Einstein superseded Newton.
Well, a lot of people say a lot of things.
Look, let's not worry about what's being
Yeah,
said.
you.
Let's have a look what's being looked
No,
at
I
under
say
the
the right
electron.
things. My
Let's have
things
a.
that I say are
I just
correct.
want to have a
But
listen
you're
to what
more
you
right
respond to in
than
this regard, right? I want to know what's being looked at under the
Barcode.
electron microsode when it comes to fabric of space time.
That's so.
There seems to be an inflammation taking place in the body of science, guys.
I was using that
There,
word
it's a
to
brocade.
describe that it was not. It complements the existing Newtonian physics. It doesn't.
not what they
Oh, it
say.
does. It complements. It's like a
Newtonian works
garnish.
for most of the things we
So
talk about,
supersede
especially here
means
on this
complement?
chat.
But you don't know
Newtonian
anything
is
about
fine.
it, but you
Garnish.
believe it.
You know what? And I could give a rat's ass what causes gravity. I just know that it exists. It's a law.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
dear.
Well, what's the fabric of space time?
What
Is it a
causes it?
brocade?
I want to know the effects. I can prove the effects,
Yeah, I
right?
don't care what
Is
I
it a
believe. I'm
brocade?
just going to believe it anyway.
No, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
Okay, there's no effect when you bend a conceptual medium. So, okay, at this point, right, we've got about, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes left on this broadcast if you're watching on Nathan Oakley, and when this goes out there will be approximately 28 hours between now and when the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel is officially launched. So on Thursday the 8th of August the first broadcast will go out, if you like, as live on a premiere from the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. It is also the new home of Ballbusters Live. So every Saturday, 8 PM UK time, 2 PM Central, the live broadcast, pretty much exactly as it was, will go out rather than from Nathan Oakley channel, but from Quantum Eraser channel. So you need to subscribe to Quantum Eraser channel. Now, for the benefit of those who are subscribed to this channel, Nathan Oakley, I put out a tester, if you like, tester teaser, soft launch, whatever you want to call it, but basically the ad that I'm hoping that people will mirror, and I've contacted people directly and in groups, you know who you are, to say, can you download this video and re-upload it, hopefully as a premiere, so between now and 28 hours time, if you're watching this and you are one of those people, you can stick it out hopefully as a premiere so that there's in the subscription feeds various different ads over the next 28 hours, which will all hopefully go live about the same time, about 8 o'clock. It might be a little bit before, might be after, it doesn't matter, but so long as those ads go out in the next 28 hours as a concerted, coordinated group effort, it will hopefully build Quantum Eraser channel where it has sat dormant since he came into this arena. So I will turn off the version of the ad that I put out there purely for people to download and then publish on Thursday the 8th, which is tomorrow, 28 hours from now when you're watching this broadcast. So because it's switched off, I'm going to put a link to that video in the info box. If you do also, if you're a YouTuber and you've got a, I don't know, channel with maybe 100 or more subs, and you also want to take part in the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel launch, then either go directly to Quantum Eraser's YouTube channel where the ad is also and still currently live and can be watched, or you can, like I say, click on the link to the one that I published on this channel so that people could download it, but that will be set to unlisted so that everybody's efforts are coordinated and at the same time. So hopefully the mass of people on various different channels will get these channel ads going out linking you to a broadcast. So the idea being that when they come out at 8 p.m, they go out for 1 minute only, and the link below directs them to a show that will then be running. So that's the whole idea. And in the meantime, if people have set them to premiere, they're still appearing in the feed, so people can go and subscribe in the meantime. So just off the back of that one ad, there's been about, I don't know, 100 people, 120 people that have gone and subscribed to Quantum Eraser. And like I say, that wasn't the official launch. It was just so that people could download the ad to launch the channel. So I'm elated with the amount of people who've subscribed. That all said, if you do just want to go and subscribe, click in the info box. There'll be a link directly to Quantum Eraser's YouTube channel. Go and subscribe immediately if you've not done so already. Is there anything you want to add to that, John? Got about 20 seconds.
Yeah, thanks for all your efforts. It's not only you, it's a number of people, Betty, and just a massive amounts of work. You wouldn't believe it. I still can't believe it, but that's a heavy burden on you guys. I appreciate that.
Anytime. As I say, if everybody does a little and downloads that ad and republishes it on Thursday the 8th in about 28 hours time, and you all do a little, I don't have to do anything at all. And that's good by me. So with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the Nathan Oakley premiering stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. As I said earlier, also check out Quantum Eraser channel and subscribe if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!